Good afternoon, everybody. It is Steve Lookner with Agenda Free TV. That is a live shot of the White House. That is live. It kind of looks like it's frozen, but it's live. Are we seeing any movement there? Is everything really still? Oh, yeah, I just saw something move. President Macron of France is visiting President Trump at the White House today, and there's going to be a press conference. Actually, we might soon get a get a video of them. They might actually be talking in the Oval Office right now to the press. Often with this situation, they do the press conference, but before that, they'll do like a sit-down thing in the Oval Office, and then the video of it will come out after. So if I do get that video, I'll play it for you. But the press conference is supposed to be at 2 p.m. So we're going to bring you live coverage of the press conference. And I appreciate you being here today. Give me a moment here. Oops. Hang on. I have a video of Macron arriving at the White House a short while ago, so I'll play that for you as well. Thanks, by the way, too. Thanks to Beth Mythical and Ruth Krafasi over there moderating on YouTube. I really appreciate it. Thanks to all of our moderators. Linda Belk, Larry, and Misha on X. Thank you to our Twitch moderators. A Moment of Lovely and Matthew Kohai 3, thank you. And hang on a moment here. Thanks to our Facebook mods too, Kay Lowry Body, Margaret Riley. Really appreciate all of our moderators. Thank you. Hold on a second here. Give me a moment. I'm seeing a little video. I don't have it yet. But I'm seeing the White House just posted a clip of Macron and Trump in the Oval Office. So hopefully I'll get that soon. Where is this? Ongoing. Just want to make sure I don't have it yet, but I don't believe I do have it yet. Well, again, if I get that video of them in the Oval Office after the fact, I'll let you know. Hey, let me show you the video I can show you right now. Let me show you that. You can see here, there's a picture of them, by the way, from AP. Trump says U.S.-Ukraine getting close on critical mineral deal as he holds talks with Macron. Here is a video from AFP of Macron arriving at the White House. It's not that long. Okay, oops. Here it is. Let's play this for you. This is from AFP. This is a short while ago. Do we have sound on this, I hope? Yes. And then it's a pretty short video. Pretty short video, that one. Okay. But you can see he's there. Trump posted something about the meeting. I'm going to show you that in a second. Let's see here. Trump posted, "Today, President Emmanuel Macron of France joined me in the Oval Office to speak to the G7 summit. The meeting was convened by," again, it's Prime Minister Trudeau, not Governor Trudeau of Canada, but Trump jokes that he's Governor Trudeau. I don't know if he's joking or not, because he wants Canada, he says, to be the 51st state. So he calls him Governor Justin Trudeau of Canada, the current chair of G7, to acknowledge the third anniversary of the Russia-Ukraine war, which would have never started, Trump claims, if I were president. Everyone expressed their goal of seeing the war end, and I emphasized the importance of the vital critical minerals and rare earths deal between the U.S. and Ukraine, which we hope will be signed very soon. This deal, which Trump says is an economic partnership, will ensure the American people recoup the tens of billions of dollars in military equipment sent to Ukraine, while also helping Ukraine's economy grow as this brutal and savage war comes to an end. At the same time, I am in serious discussions with President Vladimir Putin of Russia concerning the ending of the war and also major economic development transactions which will take place between the United States and Russia. Talks are proceeding very well. Ruth Henson wrote, "Is Israel going to pay us back?" That's our viewer, Ruth Henson. A Moment of Lovely says, "It has been 3 years now." Yes, it has. Yes, it has. This is the 3-year anniversary of the Ukraine invasion today. By the way, Van Dan, that is so generous of you. Wow. Thank you so much, Van Dan, for all your support of Agenda Free TV. That is so nice of Van Dan. Thank you. Wow. Thank you, Van Dan. All right, there's the White House. We'll be reading some of your comments here as we wait for this press conference. You can see there's an article there from AP. I'm going to read some of your comments first, and then we'll... Hold on. Our viewer Kind Nug says, "I don't mind Trump, but when he called Zelensky a dictator, he was jealous." Wall Street says, "Poor Zelensky, LOL." Mr. Clam says, "Wow, we were here that first day of the invasion. Time flies." D. Donut says, "Trump does not include Europe and Ukraine in negotiations. Crazy and backstabbing." Teddy Boy says, "Good question about Israel paying the U.S. back." TJ Adams says, "Trump sees it as a payback. Zelensky sees it as a deal for more weapons." Sir Dingo says, "But no talking with Zelensky because Trump is a Russian puppet." Hold on a moment here. Oh, hold on. I'm about to get video. I'm getting video in of the Oval Office. Okay, we're about to see the Oval Office meeting. Okay, so this is moments ago. This is not live. This is moments ago in the White House. It's going to play in a second. So this is not the press conference. This is going to be moments ago, Macron and Trump talking in the Oval Office. Okay? It's about to start, I think, and start playing. Wait, what am I doing here? Give me a second. Yes. So just hang on a moment. Just hang on a moment. Why is this one not playing? I have two of these. The other one is playing. I can always download it. I might have to switch this. Give me a moment here. Give me a moment. Just give me one moment. We'll have the video for you. Don't worry. Don't worry. Here it is. Here it is. But I'm not hearing anything. But we will be hearing something. In a moment, I guess.
Crucial to their economy, to them as a country. But, we're in for $350 billion. How we got there, I don't know. But that's a lot of money, a lot of money invested, and we had nothing to show for it. And it was the Biden administration's fault. The Europeans are in for about $100 billion, and they do it in the form of a loan. And the Europeans have been great on this issue. They understood it wasn't fair, and we were able to work something out. But with the Ukrainians, I think I can say that we're very close. Scott's around here someplace. And I think we can say that we're very, hi Scott, I think we're very close. Do you have something to say about that, Scott?
We are very close.
Good.
1 yard line.
All right, good.
Mr. President, would national security guarantee for Ukraine?
What?
Would a minerals deal include a security guarantee for Ukraine?
Well, it'll be, Europe is going to make sure that nothing happens. I don't think it's going to be much of a problem. I think once we settle, there's going to be no more war in Ukraine, and you're not going to have it. It's not going to be a very big problem. That's going to be the least of it.
So, the Greek media reporting that the U.S. has agreed to shut down a military base in Greece that's been a logistical hub for NATO.
That who shut down?
That the U.S. has agreed to shut it down at the request of Turkey and Russia. Is that all true?
Marco, do you have anything to say?
Yes. No. So that's a no. That's a no.
Mr. President.
Is it a no?
It's a no, sir.
It's not a correct story.
Mr. President, how do you react to people in Europe who say that you are abandoning Ukraine and that you are going to sacrifice the security of Ukraine by making a deal with Vladimir Putin?
Now, we're helping Ukraine like nobody's ever helped Ukraine before. And I can say this, if I didn't become president, Ukraine would right now still be at a level where there would be no even thinking about a peace. And it was, it's a sad thing that this happened. This would have never happened, this war, if I were president. Zero chance. And it has happened. So my function is to get you out of the war, get them out of the war, let them live. It's a bloody war, it's a horrible war. Thousands of people are being killed a week. And I would say Russia, maybe 700,000 people. I think Ukraine probably a similar number, and that's not talking about the towns and the cities that have been blown up. That's talking about soldiers. This has been a horrible, bloody mess, and we're going to get it solved. We got to get it solved. And we're not talking about America's soldiers from this country. We're talking about Russia and Ukraine. But on a humanitarian basis, we have to get this very, very bloody, savage problem solved. And I will say this also, it could lead to World War III if it's not solved. There'll be a point at which it's not going to stop at those two countries. Already there's such involvement from other countries. And it could really lead to a very big war, World War III, and we're not going to let that happen either.
Would you support the idea to send European troops in Ukraine to back the ceasefire?
European troops may go into Ukraine as peacemakers. So when the agreement is done, they can watch that everything is followed properly. I don't think that's going to be a problem. And a lot of the European countries, I don't want to speak for France, but I know that the president's talked about doing that also. I think that'll be a very good day when we can go in as peacekeepers as opposed to what's going on right now with everybody being killed.
Will they
So-
have U.S. backing, those troops going into Ukraine? Will they have U.S. backing from U.S. troops?
Well, we're going to have a backing of some kind, and obviously the European countries are going to be involved, and I don't think you're going to need much backing. I think that's not going to be a problem. Once an agreement is signed, Russia's going to get back to its business, and Ukraine and Europe are going to get back to their business. I don't think it's going to be a problem.
Mr. President, could you meet with President Zelensky soon?
What?
Could you meet with President Zelensky soon?
I will be meeting with President Zelensky. In fact, he may come in this week or next week to sign the agreement, and which would be nice. I'd love to meet him. Would meet at the Oval Office. So the agreement's being worked on now. They're very close to a final deal. It'll be a deal with rare earths and various other things, and he would like to come, as I understand it, here to sign it, and that would be great with me. I think they then have to get it approved by their council or whoever might approve it, but I'm sure that will happen. Yeah, at some point I'll be meeting with President Putin also, yes. I don't know when we speak. We're trying to get this thing worked out, but yeah, at some point I'll be meeting with President Putin too.
Monsieur Macron, s'il vous plaît, est-ce que vous pouvez me dire quelques mots en français?
I can say a few words in French.
Yes, please.
Non, le président l'a dit, je pense que c'est un moment important. C'est un moment important de la discussion. On veut bâtir la paix en Ukraine et le bilan qui a été rappelé, en réalité, il y a d'1 million de morts et de blessés depuis le début de ce conflit et de cette guerre d'agression. Notre volonté, c'est que cette paix dure, parce que nous avons déjà eu un cessez-le-feu et une paix qui n'a pas été respectée. C'était les accords de Minsk, 1 puis 2. Et donc le corps de cette discussion, c'est de s'assurer d'abord qu'il y ait un cessez-le-feu, ensuite que les Ukrainiens soient impliqués. Je pense que ce que vient de dire un instant le président Trump est très important, c'est-à-dire qu'il va rencontrer rapidement le président Zelensky pour signer cet accord sur les minerais critiques et les terres rares, et que c'est aussi un moyen d'avoir une implication américaine forte. Les Européens sont prêts à prendre leur charge sous des formes diverses de soutien à l'armée ukrainienne, de présence y compris pour s'assurer que la paix soit durable, et l'implication dans la durée des États-Unis d'Amérique à travers cet accord est une bonne chose. Et donc tout est encore à construire, et je ne veux pas préempter les discussions, mais nous partageons le même objectif, et ce qu'on a discuté ce matin pendant 1 heure après la visioconférence ensemble, et ce qu'on va continuer de travailler, et sont pour moi des bonnes avancées. Et l'annonce
Est-ce que l'intégrité territoriale de l'Ukraine est encore un objectif
We've already
crédible?
spoken about this just a moment ago. This is exactly what we want to do. We want to build peace with Ukraine. As President Trump mentioned, there are already 1 million dead and wounded in Ukraine since the war began. We had a ceasefire in the past that was not respected. This was under the Minsk Agreements 1 and 2. President Trump, as he said, will be meeting with President Zelensky to sign a deal on rare earths, and we are pleased to see this very strong American involvement. Europe, of course, also stands ready to support Ukraine in various ways, supporting its military. And we don't want to preempt any sort of discussions that are currently underway, but we do share the same objective of building this lasting peace.
I just want to tell you a little story. So we were at the Eiffel Tower having dinner with your wonderful wife and with my wonderful wife, and we came out and he started speaking the French deal. And we didn't have an interpreter, and he was going on and on and on, and I was just nodding, yes, yes, yes. And he really sold me out, because I got back the next day and I read the papers. I said, that's not what we said. He's a smart customer, I will tell you that. Sure. Exactly what we agreed.
Mr. President, called Zelensky a dictator. Would you use the same words regarding Putin?
I don't use those words lightly. I think that we're going to see how it all works out. Let's see what happens. I think we have a chance of a really good settlement between various countries. And, you know, you're talking about Europe, and you're talking about Ukraine as part of that whole situation. The other side has a lot of support also. So let's see how it all works out. It might work out. Look, you can never make up lives. The one thing you can make up the money, but you can't make up the lives. A lot of lives lost. I think probably a lot more lives than people are talking about. It's been a rough war, but I think we're close to getting it solved. Go ahead.
Do you think that Doge could benefit from more streamlined communications? There was that email telling employees to give 5 things that they've done last week. Agency heads then told people to ignore it.
You're talking about the last email that was sent, where he wanted to know what you did this week. You know why he wanted that, by the way? I thought it was great. Because we have people that don't show up to work and nobody even knows that they work for the government. So by asking the question, tell us what you did this week, what he's doing is saying, are you actually working? And then if you don't answer, like you're sort of semi-fired or you're fired, because a lot of people are not answering because they don't even exist. They're trying to, that's how badly various parts of our government were run by, and especially by this last group. So what they're doing is they're trying to find out who's working for the government. Are we paying other people that aren't working? And you know, where is all this? Where's the money going? We have found hundreds of billions of dollars of fraud so far, and we've just started. We're actually going to Fort Knox to see if the gold is there, because maybe somebody stole the gold. Tons of gold. So I think it was actually, there was a lot of genius in sending it. We're trying to find out if people are working. And so we're sending a letter to people, please tell us what you did last week. If people don't respond, it's very possible that there is no such person or they're not working.
Some of the agency heads instructed their employees not to respond. They were waiting on further guidance, but Elon Musk's tweet said a failure to respond would be taken as a resignation. So there's been a disconnect in communications.
Yeah.
Are you concerned at all about
that?
No.
That was done in a friendly manner. Only things such as perhaps Marco at State Department, where they have very confidential things, or the FBI, where they're working on confidential things. And they don't mean that in any way combatively with Elon. They're just saying there are some people that you don't want to really have them tell you what they're working on last week. But other than that, I think everyone thought it was a pretty ingenious idea. We have to find out where these people are. Who are they? And we said, if you don't respond, we assume you're not around.
And that holds, that stands.
And you're not getting paid anymore, too. So, you know, we're doing a real job. And we just had a poll come out, I guess the Harvard poll, saying that it's massively popular what we're doing. So.
Mr. President, do you still believe in NATO, in the alliance between Europe and America in NATO? Are you going to go to the summit in June?
Very much involved in this. When I first got elected at the very beginning, first term, I got hundreds of billions of dollars put into NATO. NATO had no money because they hadn't paid for years. And I said, look, if you don't pay and we're not going to be a part of NATO, we're not going to protect, we're not going to do what we're supposed to do. And we took in hundreds of billions of dollars into NATO. No, NATO is a good thing if it's done properly and if it's used properly.
Mr. President, in these days you speak a lot about tariffs in Canada, in Mexico, and in Europe. I want to know what is your idea about Italy, if you want to make the same thing.
What? Can you talk up a little bit?
In these days.
No, louder. Can you talk a little louder? You have a beautiful voice, but you're not.
In these days, you speak.
Where are you from?
Italy.
From Italy. Oh, I love Italy. Go ahead.
I want to know if you have the same idea with Italy about tariffs.
Well, look, I love Italy, and Italy is a very important nation. We have a wonderful woman as your leader, and she was on the conversation today, one that we had, the G7. And no, I think Italy is doing very well. I think Italy's got very strong leadership with Georgia.
Monsieur le Président, qu'est-ce que vous répondez au président Trump qui a dit que les Français et les Britanniques n'avaient pas acheté?
Any other questions? Yes, ma'am.
Can you clarify what you meant in your truth today on the major economic development transactions between the U.S. and Russia? Any more detail?
With respect to what, Russia?
In solving the peace deal, you said there will be major economic development transactions which will take place between the United States and Russia.
Yeah, we're trying to do some economic development deals. They have a lot of things that we want, and we'll see. I mean, I don't know if that will come to fruition, but we'd love to be able to do that if we could. You know, they have massive rare earth. It's a very large, it's actually the largest in terms of land. It's by far the largest country. And they have very valuable things that we could use, and we have things that they could use, and it would be very good if we could do that. I think it would be a very good thing for world peace and lasting peace. Well, I mean, our first by far, our first thing that we want to do, the first element of the overall transaction is ending the war. But if, just as we're doing with Ukraine, if we could do some economic development in terms of Russia and getting things that we want, something like that would be possible, yes.
Mr. President, you want
yes, go ahead, please.
Can you explain the rationale in having the U.S. vote against the UN resolutions that Ukraine proposed and also the U.S. proposed?
I would rather not explain it now, but it's sort of self-evident, I think.
Mr. President, what about increasing the tariffs on products from the European Union? Is that still something you want to do today?
Well, it's not increasing, it's reciprocal. So whatever they charge us, we're charging them. So it's not a question of increasing. If they charge us 20%, we charge them 20%. If they charge us 30 or 40%, then we do that too. So that would be on European Union, but that really would be with respect to everybody. It's reciprocity. So reciprocal. Whatever they charge us, we charge them. Nobody has a problem. Even you, as the union, have a problem. Right?
Mr. President, are you thinking of going to Moscow soon? Maybe in May for the 9th of May for the anniversary?
I mean, not soon, but I would be certainly, if this all gets settled out, which I think it will, sure, I would go there.
On the 9th of
and
May?
you'd come here too.
On the 9th of May for on the Red Square?
I don't know the 9th of May now. I think that's pretty soon. But no, at the appropriate time I would go to Moscow.
When do you see the war will end?
I think the war could end soon.
How soon?
Within weeks.
Weeks?
Yeah.
At what price for Ukraine?
Do you think so? I'd like to ask that you. I think we could end it within weeks if we're smart. If we're not smart, it'll keep going and we'll keep losing young, beautiful people that shouldn't be dying. And we don't want that. And remember what I said. This could escalate into a third world war. And we don't want that either.
Mr. President, your envoy Steve Lookner suggested a temporary ceasefire in the conflict, but the Russian government has denied that out of hand. Do you worry that they're not dealing in good faith?
No, I think they, at some point, will agree to that. I think they probably wanted to. And I think once you have a ceasefire, it's going to end because they're not going from a ceasefire back to war. I think people have had their full. I'm just glad I was able to help because there was no communication with Russia until I came along. Biden didn't communicate. He couldn't communicate with his own child. So Biden didn't communicate. He couldn't. It was terrible. He hadn't spoken to Putin in 3 years. You're trying to end the war. People are being killed. Every week, thousands of people are being killed. Soldiers, in this case, mostly. Also towns, as missiles go in and back and forth. No, it's a shame. This should have never happened. This is a very sad, this is going to go down to the history books. This is a very sad moment because that should have been stopped. That should have never started. And if it did start, it should have stopped the first week, not 3 years later. Okay?
Je vais répondre sur Olombi. Juste, je pense que plusieurs questions de votre collègue qui ont été posées en français et qui rejoignent les questions posées par les collègues américains. D'abord, cette discussion est utile et construire la paix est une nécessité. La deuxième chose, c'est qu'il y a aujourd'hui une capacité de dissuasion qui est restaurée et que c'est ce que veut dire le président Trump quand il dit qu'il n'y aura plus de problème. Je pense que la force du réengagement américain aujourd'hui, c'est en quelque sorte l'incertitude aussi pour le président Poutine. Et donc il y a une capacité de dissuasion qui est là, qui permet de sceller d'abord sans doute une trêve, la capacité à vérifier que cette trêve est respectée, et ensuite un accord de paix qui permettra de reconstruire l'Ukraine et de lui apporter aussi les garanties de sécurité. Dans le cadre de ces garanties de sécurité, nous pensons que nous avons notre rôle à jouer. Et donc, on verra à ce moment-là de la discussion, je ne veux pas la préempter, ce qui est nécessaire pour que l'Ukraine puisse rester un pays souverain. Et d'ailleurs, dans les discussions entre l'Ukraine et les États-Unis d'Amérique, il y a cette question d'une souveraineté ukrainienne qui est respectée. Et donc, nous, ce que nous avons préparé, en particulier avec nos partenaires britanniques, dans le cadre d'un travail très étroit qu'on a mené ces dernières semaines, et partagé avec tous les pays européens et alliés qui sont prêts à s'y joindre, c'est l'idée de dire on est prêt à apporter ces garanties de sécurité. Les conditions, elles doivent en être définies. Elles doivent être définies par l'accord. Ça peut aller jusqu'à l'envoi, comme l'a dit le président, de troupes qui iront observer que la paix est bien respectée, qui iront se positionner, pas sur la ligne de front, pas pour justement en quelque sorte être dans le conflit, mais marquer une présence comme une garantie. Il y a d'autres moyens de soutenir qui peuvent être des soutiens accrus et capacitaires à l'armée, des structures nouvelles. Et je pense aussi que l'accord qui est discuté, le président l'a dit, la crédibilité américaine qui est mise dans ce moment, c'est aussi montrer que chacun est dans son rôle, mais que nous avons une unité, Européens et Américains, et donc avec une forme de garantie que les Américains prennent par la discussion sur les minerais critiques qui sont en train de finaliser.
La guerre peut s'arrêter dans plusieurs
semaines. That is the most beautiful language. I have no idea what he's saying, but that is the most elegant, beautiful language. Go ahead, please.
This is a question that was asked by several. What we need to do is make sure that we are building peace. We have deterrence capabilities that have been restored. As President Trump said, there won't be any more problems. We've seen the U.S. re-engagement and the message that that sends to Mr. Putin. We have deterrence, which will allow a truce to take place, verification of that truce, and then a peace agreement can be put in place so that we can start rebuilding Ukraine with security guarantees. And we have a role to play in that. Again, I'm not preempting any discussions, but we've spoken about Ukraine's sovereignty, and that has been a subject of discussion between the U.S. and Ukraine. We have also been working closely with our British partners this week. We've shared this information with other European countries, and we are ready and willing to provide those security guarantees, which could perhaps include troops, but they would be there to maintain peace. They would not be along the front lines. They would not be part of any conflict. They would be there to ensure that the peace is respected. Our assistance may include other capacity building, perhaps for the military. We see U.S. credibility here. We each have our roles to play, but it will be done in a united fashion.
Mr. President, do you think that Ukraine should give up a part of its territory?
Well, we're going to see. It's a negotiation that's just starting, and they've been fighting, and there's been a lot of land that's been taken. So we'll have to see how that works out. That's part of the negotiation. I will say there was great unity in that room today, via Skype or whatever. But there was great, tremendous unity today in that room with the other countries.
Ukraine wants those territories back. Can they take it back? What they lost in the past years?
That's not an easy thing to do, is it? Right? It's not an easy. Just asking whether or not you can take back the land that they lost, and I say that, yeah, perhaps some of it, yeah, I hope so. But that's not an easy thing to do.
But not everything.
It's going to be something we're talking about.
Will you convince Vladimir Putin to accept the European troops as peacekeeper, will you think?
Yeah, he will accept that.
He will accept
I've
it?
asked him that question.
You talked to me?
I've asked him that question.
He said yes?
going to lift the block on the
Because he's not, look, if we do this deal, he's not looking for war. He doesn't mind, but I've specifically asked him that question. He has no problem with it.
Is France going to lift the block on the $300 billion in frozen Russian assets in Belgium? France has imposed unfreezing it to pay Ukraine and compensate the U.S. for its support. Is France going to lift its opposition to that?
This is, we speak about frozen assets. We already used them to back precisely the loans negotiated at the G7, and it's part of the sanctions. So it will depend on the follow-up of the discussions. But clearly we respect international law. It's just frozen assets now. You can take the proceeds of the frozen assets, but you cannot take the assets themselves because it's not respecting international law, and we want to respect international law.
How is one different than the other? If you can take the proceeds from it, how can you not take
Because it's very different. You keep the assets, you take the proceeds because they are paralyzed in a certain way, you take the proceeds during the wartime, but you keep the assets, and it's part of the negotiation at the end of the war. Because, this war costed all of us a lot of money. And this is the responsibility of Russia, because the aggressor is Russia.
Should
So,
be compensated?
so at the end of the day, this frozen asset should be part of the negotiation. All in all.
Will France support the U.S. being compensated?
I support the idea to have Ukraine first being compensated, because they are the ones who have lose a lot of their fellow citizens and being destroyed by this attack. Second, all of those who paid for will be compensated, but not by Ukraine, by Russia, because they were the one to aggress.
Again, just so you understand, Europe is loaning the money to Ukraine. They get their money back.
No, in fact, to be frank, we paid. we paid 60% of the total effort. And it was through, like the US, loans, guarantee, grants, and we provided real money, to be clear. We have 230 billion frozen assets in Europe, Russian assets, but this is not as a collateral of a loan because this is not our belonging. So they are frozen. If at the end of the day in the negotiation we will have with Russia, they're ready to give it to us, super. It will be loan at the end of the day and Russia will have paid for that.
If you believe that, it's okay with me.
Mr. President,
if they get their money back, we don't, and now we do. But you know, that's only fair.
Mr. President, do you think Russia is the one that pays everybody back? Are they the aggressors?
Well, we're negotiating everything, and everything's on the table, and we'll see if we can get some land back, and we'll see about a lot of different things. And we're going to be making a little speech and say a few words. In a little while, we're going to have another meeting, a luncheon meeting, and we'll see you in about 2 hours. Okay? Thank you very much, everybody.
Thank you, Fred. Moving out. Moving out, cameras right here. Thank you. Thanks, guys. All right, head out. Let's go right here, right here. Moving out. Thank you. Right here, moving out. Cameras right out the door. Come on, let's go. Out the door. Moving out. Moving out. Head out, press. Thank you. Thanks, guys. Straight out. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Keep going.
Okay, so that was moments ago. Trump and Macron in the Oval Office. They're going to have a press conference. That was an interesting moment at the end when Trump was claiming that Europe gets all their money back that they gave to Ukraine because it's a loan, and then Macron disagreed with him. Should we play that moment again? If I can find it, let's see here.
Convince Vladimir Putin to accept the European troops as peacekeepers?
The U.S. for its...
We want to respect international.
How is one different than the other? You can take the proceeds.
All in all.
Blueprints.
And take the loans gathered by Russia.
Right here.
Because they were the one to aggress.
Okay. Just so you understand, Europe is loaning the money to Ukraine. They get their money back.
No, in fact, to be frank, we paid 60% of the total effort, and it was through, like the US, loans, guarantee, grants, and we provided real money, to be clear. We have 230 billion frozen assets in Europe, Russian assets, but this is not as a collateral of a loan because this is not our belonging. So they are frozen. If at the end of the day in the negotiation we will have with Russia, they're ready to give it to us, super. It will be loan at the end of the day and Russia will have paid for that.
If you believe that, it's okay with me.
Mr. President,
if they get their money back.
All right, so that was a little disagreement between Trump and Macron. Let's see here. By the way, so the press conference was supposed to be start at 2. I don't know that it's going to start at 2. I think it's going to start a little later than 2. So I'm going to say soon, coming up soon, Trump Macron press conference. Hang on one moment here. I got to just check something. All right, that was that. And then, actually, let me try one quick thing here. There were actually 2 camera angles. It's possible the other camera angle that I had access to was a little better. I know that one was jumping around a bit. So I apologize. Let me see if I can pull the other one up and what happens with that. If I can, I might be able to download the other camera angle. maybe we'll take a look at it. I want to take some of your comments too. Give me a moment here. There's this, there's this, there's this. Okay. Oops. Trump and Macron discuss Ukraine peace prospects at White House. By the way, a quick thanks to for your support to Van Dan, of course. Thank you, Van Dan. Also, Longboard Ninja Master, our member. Debbie James, thanks for the gift memberships. Jagged Glass, our member. Thank you, Bebop and Rocksteady. Thank you, Ronnie Kawaler and NovDB and Weaselman. And also Kiaria and Sneezing Eagle are 2 members. Thank you. I appreciate it. And also Shadow3413 for your support. Thank you, Shadow3413. Our viewer NoyDB mentioned dues and NATO. Really quick, I looked it up. I looked up on the NATO page, funding NATO, and it says NATO is resourced through the direct and indirect contributions of its members. NATO's common funds are composed of direct contributions to collective budgets and programs. I was reading something about the NATO funding. But I don't know all the specifics of the NATO funding. But you can go to the North Atlantic Treaty Organization funding NATO for more details. All right, what did you guys think of the Macron and Trump discussion? And we're waiting for the press conference. We are waiting for the press conference. And if I can download the other, maybe I can download the other camera angle so we can, when that's available, I'll download it. Let's see, hold on. Oh, can I do it now? Wait. Let's see. Because it might be a little better to, if we want to watch any of it again, I can have a different camera for you. I don't think I have access to that one yet. Maybe shortly. What did you guys think of them talking? Simtugger says only the Donald will try to bleed Ukraine dry during a war. Parla Media thinks Trump was being a nice boy. Molly Morgan says it was awesome. XZ thinks we sent all that money to Ukraine to help them and they just totally abused us. That's what our viewer XZ said. A couple of our viewers asked about Macron speaking French. My assumption is that there are French media there, and while Macron can clearly speak English, my guess is that he likes to speak in French, for French media covering it. I'm sure that they like to have him talking in French for the purpose of their coverage. That'd be my guess. Oh, thank you to our member Sam, by the way. Canada Proud says, I saw a lot of tension. You can see here from Reuters, they say, President Trump said on Monday the U.S. is close to a minerals deal with Ukraine as he and French President Macron held talks that covered the prospects for ending the Ukraine war amid stark differences on how to proceed. Trump described the highly anticipated revenue agreement with a revenue sharing agreement with Ukraine as very close in answering questions from reporters as he and Macron met in the Oval Office. Trump said he might meet Ukraine President Zelensky later this week to seal the agreement. Is that going to happen? I have no idea. Trump said he may come in this week or next week to sign the agreement, which would be nice, he said of Zelensky. He said he would also be meeting Russian President Putin at some point. Macron said Europe was prepared to provide security guarantees to Ukraine, including peacekeepers, in the event of a ceasefire. Trump said the U.S. backed the idea of sending European peacekeeping troops and said he had raised the concept with Putin and that Putin would accept it. Asked if Ukraine should be willing to cede territory to Russia as part of a negotiated end to the war, Trump said, "We'll see," and noted that talks were just beginning. Today, Macron became the first European leader to visit Trump since Trump regained power a month ago. Macron was at the White House for a morning session that lasted an hour and 45 minutes, including both leaders participating in a video conference with other G7 leaders about Ukraine. After their bilateral talks, the two leaders were to hold a joint press conference scheduled for 2 p.m. Eastern Time. However, I think it's going to be after 2 p.m. Eastern Time because at the end of that appearance in the Oval Office, Trump said something about them having lunch and then doing the press conference. So my guess is it's not going to be 2 p.m. I mean, I'll certainly play it if it's at 2 p.m. We're going to play it whenever it happens. But I don't think it's going to be at 2 p.m. I think it's going to be a little bit after that. Timido said, time for lunch. He did say something about them eating, right? I think he did. British Prime Minister Keir Starmer is to visit Trump later in the week. Maybe they'll do a press conference too, amid alarm in Europe over Trump's hardening stance toward Ukraine and overtures to Moscow on the 3-year conflict. Reuters says that Macron and Starmer are expected to try to convince Trump not to rush to a ceasefire deal with Russian President Putin at any cost, keep Europe involved, and discuss military guarantees to Ukraine. Trump and his team have been negotiating a revenue-sharing agreement with Ukraine to recoup some of the money that the previous Biden administration had sent to Kyiv in the form of weapons to repel Russia. And just a little background here. Hold on a second here. Reuters says that Zelensky last week rejected U.S. demands for $500 billion in mineral wealth from Ukraine to repay Washington for wartime aid, saying the U.S. had supplied nowhere near that sum and that the U.S. offered no specific security guarantees in their proposed agreement. I'll just finish 2 more paragraphs. I'll just finish this as background. Reuters says President Macron of France is trying to capitalize on a relationship with Trump built during their first presidential term. He has said agreeing to a bad deal would amount to a surrender, a capitulation of Ukraine, and would signal weakness to the United States foes, including China and Iran. Macron said today, "I will tell Trump, deep down, you cannot be weak in the face of President Putin. It's not you. It's not what you're made of, and it's not in your interests." Jake the Snake says Ukraine should have never started something they couldn't finish. So to be clear, Russia invaded Ukraine and appeared to attempt to take over the entire country. And Ukraine was defending its country from an invasion. I don't think that's that controversial to say that. Tina Marie says, fingers crossed, hope for the best. Cubat says Macron is the last European leader to physically meet and talk with Putin right before the war started. You know, I remember Macron talking to Putin several times right before the war. I don't know if he was the last European leader to be there. I don't remember. But I do remember him having certainly phone conversations, and right before the invasion, I remember him multiple times talking to Putin. By the way, thanks so much to Connor Garrity. That's very kind of you, Connor. Connor says, according to EU Commissioner's webpage, EU loaned 18.1 billion to Ukraine. So Europe, I guess, has, it's a little complex. I believe Europe has, they have in their possession these Russian funds, which I guess they are planning on using the proceeds from. Is it like interest to pay at least some of the European countries back for aid given to Ukraine out of those Russian funds? It sounds like, from what Macron was saying, that he doesn't anticipate that'll cover the money that Europe has given to Ukraine. That's kind of what I took from what Macron was saying. I might be wrong about that. One of our viewers said, Brian Harper said we should use all the funds. So something that Macron was saying is it would go against international law to just take those Russian funds, whereas it doesn't if you use the proceeds from the funds. I've been trying to find some, I was looking it up the other night, trying to find some more details on it. I'm not an expert on that topic. I think it's an interesting topic. Here's something about frozen assets. Hold on, let me show you this. As we wait for the press conference to start. We will have the press conference live for you. So here, I just found this from Reuters. Russia could concede $300 billion in frozen assets as part of Ukraine war settlement, sources say. Hold on a second, let me fix this. Hey, what happened here? Oopsie. I got it. I got the article back. I had it. Okay. So Reuters says that Russia could agree to using $300 billion of assets frozen in Europe for reconstruction in Ukraine, but will insist that part of the money is spent on the 1/5 of the country that Moscow's forces control. 3 sources told Reuters. After Putin sent troops into Ukraine in 2022, the U.S. and its allies prohibited transactions with Russia's central bank and finance ministry, blocking $300 to $350 billion of sovereign Russian assets, mostly European, U.S., and British government bonds, held in a European securities depository. So Europe has those funds. While discussions between Russia and the United States are at a very early stage, one idea being floated in Moscow is that Russia could propose using a large chunk of the frozen reserves for rebuilding Ukraine as part of a possible peace deal. According to 3 sources, swaths of eastern Ukraine have been devastated by the war and hundreds of thousands of soldiers killed and injured on both sides. Okay. A year ago, the World Bank estimated reconstruction recovery would cost $486 billion. The idea that Russia may agree to using the frozen money to help rebuild Ukraine has not been previously reported. It may give an insight into what Russia is willing to compromise on as Moscow and Washington seek to end the war. Russia's main demands to stop the fighting include a withdrawal of Ukraine's troops from Ukrainian territory that Moscow claims and an end to Ukraine's ambitions to join NATO. Ukraine says Russia must withdraw from all of Ukraine's territory and wants security guarantees from the West. The Trump administration says Ukraine has unrealistic, illusionary goals. The Group of 7 said in 2023 that the Russian sovereign funds will remain frozen until Russia pays for the damage it inflicted in Ukraine. The Russian central bank governor said on Thursday that the bank was not, oh no, sorry. Russia has previously said plans to use the funds in Ukraine amounted to robbery. This is interesting. This report says Russia wants some of those frozen funds to go to the part of Ukraine that Russia has occupied. One source with knowledge of the discussions in Moscow said that Russia could accept up to 2/3 of the frozen funds going to the restoration of Ukraine under a peace deal. The rest could go to the Russian-controlled territories in eastern Ukraine that Russia now considers to be part of Russia. Anyways, Sarah Louise says it's not going to happen. You mean it's not? You mean that like Ukraine is not going to agree to that? That you, I don't know who's going to agree to what. Or that Russia will not agree to have those funds spent on the part of Ukraine it doesn't occupy. Bringo says Ukraine won't have a choice. Press conference is supposed to be soon, by the way, with Macron and Trump. As soon as I have any video of that, I will show it to you. Let me see, maybe I can get you the other angle of the do I have it yet? I want to get you the other angle of the Oval Office appearance by Trump and Macron. Hang on here. Why isn't that posted yet? Arrives at White House. Hang on one moment. No, for what? I don't know why I don't have that available yet. Oh, I think I was looking at the wrong place. Okay, I think I have it now. Is this it? I'm going to try to download this. It's a long video. Might take a couple minutes. It's downloading. Okay, I'm downloading the video, which I think shows, them in the Oval Office together, but a different angle, maybe with a little more of a stable camera. So I'm downloading that right now. Yes, I can see it right now. Okay, so as soon as that's downloaded, I will play it for you. It'll take a few minutes. But it is downloading. And at some point soon, I should have like the shot of the room where they're having the press conference, even though it hasn't started yet. I also have this I can show you. Look what else I can show you here. I have this is really not that exciting. I have a live shot of the White House I can show you while that other thing downloads. Hold on. I got to check the news updates too, sorry. Where is, ooh. Thanks for bearing with me. Hey, look, it's a live shot of the White House. It's the White House. Hey, there's a plane back there. That's from Reuters. Thanks so much to Ronald Kame. Hey, thanks, Ronald, for your support. And Anatoly D, who says, Ukraine withstood Stalin and Putin. It will withstand Trump. Thank you also, Tim Glenn. Tim Glenn says, it is a reality. I'm not commenting on the morality of such a reality, but it is a reality that Europe is filled with countries whose borders were decided without them in negotiations. I'm just downloading the video of them in the Oval Office so I can show you some of that again. Hang on a second here. And again, coming up, the press conference is coming up. Give us a live shot of Melania Trump. That I do not have. Hey, thanks again to our moderators who are here as we wait for this press conference. We have Ruth Krafasi moderating on YouTube. Thank you. And Beth Mythical and Beezy are over there. And RJ, thank you so much. Linda Belk, Larry, and Misha on X, thank you. Thanks to our moderators on Twitch. We have A Moment of Lovely, I Got That Fire, and Matthew Kohai 3. Thanks also to Nogdog69 for subscribing on Twitch. Thank you. And also thanks to our Facebook moderators like K. Larry Body and Margaret Riley. Thank you. Our viewer on Facebook, Lori Hawkins, says, it sure isn't going to be a quick fix, especially with those that will be at the table at talk time. Robert Rial II, thanks for subscribing, Robert. He says Putin has been trying to put together the old USSR. Putin wants to take over all of Ukraine, and Ukraine rightfully says no. I back Ukraine because Trump obviously couldn't solve it on his first day in office like he said during his campaign. That's what our viewer Robert said. Hang on a moment. No, let me just check. By the way, there's that Elon Musk email that went out to all federal workers telling them to explain what they've been doing during the past week. The deadline to reply to that, I think is, what is it? Isn't it like tonight at like 11:59 or something? But a number of government agencies have told their employees to hold off on replying to it. So I don't know what's going to come out of that, if anything. I have no idea. Yeah, the emails, wasn't it 11:59? Where is it here? I posted the actual email. I got to look it up. Why can't I find it? I know I posted it. Yes, 11:59 Eastern Time Monday. That's the deadline to reply to it that was given. 11:59 p.m. Eastern Time Monday. Yes, as Sugar Pink Rose said, the email said that, well, I don't think the email said it. I think Elon Musk's tweet said it would be taken as a resignation if you didn't reply. Keir Starmer visiting the White House is later this week, I believe, not tomorrow. Maybe it's Thursday or something. I think it's later this week. Now, one of our viewers, the one and only, is claiming that the press conference is going to start at 3:30. I haven't seen that yet, but it's possible it is. The official start time originally was 2 p.m. for the press conference, but it's clearly not starting on time. I have not seen a corrected time yet, but we're going to cover it. Just give me a second. I'm just checking. You know, I forgot to kind of check for news updates, and I want to just make sure I'm not missing anything here. Because we were watching what was going on in the Oval Office. By the way, I have the video of the other camera in the Oval Office, so we might look at that in a second. Stargazer says, I cannot wait for Starmer's visit to the Oval Office. I am so excited. Let me give you an update about that, about the Elon Musk email thing. Let me just give you an update about that, what's going on with that. Hang on a moment here. Pull it up here. Is this from today? It's from last night. So here's something about the email. This is from last night from the Washington Post. Several administration officials tell workers not to reply to Musk email. Our viewer, Cognitive Dissident, says always late. Yes, so we are waiting for the press conference. We will bring you that when it goes live. Elon Musk's demand that all 2.3 million government workers justify their work prompted confusion and resistance yesterday as several government agency leaders told their staffs not to reply to a mass email requesting bullet point summations of their accomplishments. The Director of National Intelligence, Tulsi Gabbard, instructed personnel in U.S. spy agencies not to respond, according to the text of an email she sent to the workforce on Sunday, citing the agency's sensitive and classified work. The idea is you don't want to say, here's what I'm doing, Elon, and reveal classified information or sensitive information. Defense Department employees were given similar instructions to not respond, as were FBI personnel and Department of Homeland Security employees. The latest directives came as employees and leaders across the government were caught off guard by an email sent Saturday titled, "What did you do last week?" It commanded federal employees to reply to this email with approximately 5 bullets of what you accomplished last week and CC your manager. It gave employees a deadline of 11:59 p.m. Eastern Time tonight. The email left many worried, others defiant, and still others stunned. Employees at the Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency were told definitively to reply a few hours before the Department of Homeland Security sent a note saying the opposite. In some parts of the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, staffers received instructions to draft a response, but not to send it yet. At other agencies, like the Department of Health and Human Services, employees were first given one instruction, only to be emailed later to pause and watch for more guidance on Monday. Raising the stakes, Elon Musk warned in a post on X that any employee who failed to respond would be treated as having resigned. But the email sent to workers made no mention of that possible consequence, which lawyers said would be illegal. Okay. So I don't know what's going to happen with all this. I don't know where all this is going. I don't know if anything's coming out of this email. If more people are going to get fired from it. I have no idea. Patrick James Simpson says, what a complete mess. Now, President Trump today, we saw this. President Trump today claimed that, I mean, it sounded to me like Trump was saying that the big reason Elon sent this email is to make sure people were actually working. Because President Trump, it sounded like he was saying something like there's people out there who are collecting checks who aren't even working. So this is a way to find out who, if they are working. I'm just, that's the general idea of what President Trump was saying. We heard him say this. But he was, it wasn't really precise. Speaking of which, I can play you that too. Feist says there is likely a percentage. Princess Kidda says appears to be a loyalty test. By the way, thank you to Raphael Legond for your support. Raphael says, I'm a Democrat, but I love what Elon is doing. Also, Raphael thinks Trump doesn't care about what Macron has to say. And that Raphael thinks Putin hates Macron and Macron is toxic in the negotiation. Yeet Yeet thinks the email is a pulse check. Naomi Nocturnal says, what if the people getting the email are on vacation? John Gahn says, how could he possibly check 2.3 million emails? Will they have AI read them? I don't know. Our viewer asked about that a couple days ago. Who's going to read all the emails? Tim Glenn says the article is being sneaky and withholding info. I don't know about that. The email was pretty short. I posted it. I was trying to find my post. I don't believe the article was really misrepresenting the email. I think it actually quoted from it. If I can dig it up here, though, I'll show it to you. I was looking for it before. Just to be clear, though. Thank you, Tim, by the way. I just don't want people to think I'm deceiving them on the email. I almost wonder, I know I posted it. I wonder if the original post got taken down. Oh, yes. I found it. I found the post, but I'm going to try to find the actual copy of the email. Where is it here? Reuters said the subject of the email was, what do you do last week? And I'm just looking for a screenshot of it. Somebody will send me a screenshot of it. I can't find it for whatever reason. I don't know why. There's all these articles written about it. Oh, okay. Yes, so KCTV posted a screenshot of the email that said, please, here's what it said. I'm literally going to read you the email from the KCTV screenshot. Please reply to this email with approximately 5 bullets of what you accomplished last week and CC your manager. Please do not send any classified information, links, or attachments. Deadline is this Monday at 11:59 p.m. EST. I mean, that's pretty much what the article I was reading you said the email said. That was the email. Again, we're waiting for the press conference, which is delayed, but it's going to happen. Cyan Doodles thinks that email is nuts. Ludwig says, this is straightforward. How is this harsh? Kylo Alpha Tango said, who voted Elon in? Keep Choppin says, seems like a very easy task. Thank you to Mitchell Pilot for the gift memberships. That's really nice of you, Mitchell Pilot. Thank you. Also, thank you to Fred Witherow. Thanks so much, Fred, over on X. Connor Garrity thinks the email makes sense. Hey, would you guys like to check out? So, we are waiting for the Trump Macron press conference, which we will have for you live. However, not a big surprise. Things are running a little late at the White House today. It was supposed to start at 2. It's 2:21. It has not started yet. I think they're having lunch before it. But I do have now that I can show you. I do have now, let me just pull it up here, the other camera angle of their Oval Office meeting, which should be better. It's the Oval Office meeting where they actually take some questions. So I can play that for you if you'd like. Would you like me to play Trump and Macron a few minutes ago in the White House, and you can hear what they said? I know some of you didn't see it. A bunch of people are saying yes. We're going to play this for you. A few people said no. More people are saying yes. But we can talk about it. And as soon as I get the live video, as soon as I get the video from the press conference, I'll just put that up. But I don't have anything from the press conference yet. Okay, and I'll put moments ago again. All right, so what I'm going to do is, now why are you seeing, oh no, that's right. You're seeing exactly what you should be seeing because I paused it. And what I need to do is put this here. Thank you, Jeannie Sparks. Yes, there was a Jeannie Sparks. I'll mention this really quickly. I don't want to get too caught up in it, but there was a UN resolution today that the U.S. voted against Ukraine on, which is, if I can show you this really quick. Really quick here. Europeans win in UN clash with U.S. over rival Ukraine resolutions. The United Nations on Monday rejected a U.S. bid to tone down the General Assembly's stance on Russia's war in Ukraine as President Trump seeks to broker peace. The 193-member General Assembly voted on a rival draft resolutions, one from the U.S. and one was written by Ukraine and European states to mark the 3rd anniversary of Russia's invasion of its neighbor. The United States was forced to abstain in the vote on its own resolution after European countries successfully amended Washington's draft to add language reflecting long-held UN support for Ukraine during the war, including Ukraine's sovereignty, independence, unity, and international integrity. That's from today, right? But there was one vote on a resolution, which I was trying to get you the specifics on that one, where the UN voted no. Let's see here. That wasn't the greatest summary of that. But I don't want to get too caught up on this. I don't want to get too caught up on it. So I might just skip that for now. Unless I can find something that specifics on it really quick. Oh. Is this it? UN rejects U.S. resolution that urges an end to the Ukraine war without noting Russian aggression. In a win for Ukraine, the UN General Assembly on Monday refused to approve a U.S.-backed resolution that urged an end to the war without mentioning Moscow's aggression. Instead, the UN approved a European-backed Ukrainian resolution demanding Russia immediately withdraw its forces, which the Trump administration opposed. That's what it is. Okay. All right. Let's go to, we're waiting for the news conference. It should start at, oh, hold on. Guys, look what I have. Hang on a second. Look what I have for you. Look what I have for you. If this is working. Give me a moment. Give me a moment. I'll have something for you in a second. I will have something for you in a second. All right, let's get this going. Let's get this going. I think you can predict what I have for you. I have some video. I have news conference video. It hasn't started yet, but it's getting ready to start. And I have video for you. If you give me a second, I'm going to pull up the video here. Here it is, folks. Here it is. Are we there yet? I'm getting it on the screen right now for you. If you wait 1 second. Okay, I can see it.
You're not going to go higher.
We got video. We got video. News conference video. Wow. This is live. This is not moments ago. This is live. Well, there you have it. Looks like they're pretty close. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong, but...
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Testing audio. Cuts. White House TV cuts. You good? White House TV cuts. You good? All right. Thank you.
Hey, thanks so much to American
Audio
Rebel.
check 1, 2. Audio check 1, 2.
American
Audio
Rebel
good
27.
Main riser. Audio check 1, 2, 3. Audio check 1, 2, 3. Main riser is good. This is U.S. podium. Main riser is good. Okay, I got thumbs up. I'm going to go over to the French podium. We're going to check that there.
Audio check. Thanks to American Rebel 27.
1, 2, 3. Audio
Thanks
check
also
1,
to
2. This is the French podium. French podium. Audio check 1, 2. Audio check 1, 2, 3, 4. Cuts riser. Are we good? Main riser. Are we good? Audio check 1, 2, 1, 2. Audio check MC. Check 1, 2. I got a thumbs up in the corner over there, I think. Check 1, 2. Audio check 1, 2, 3. Hey, hey. Audio check 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. No, not waving at me. Okay. Check 1, 2. Check 1, 2. Audio check 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Sounds good to me. Check 1, 2. Okay, I got a thumbs up. All I need is 1. One means success. What's up? Check 1, 2. Hey, hey.
Thanks to Ludwig, our
Audio
member.
check 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. All right, Justice, we're good.
Thanks, Ludwig. Thank you, Infinite Possibilities, our member. Infinite Possibilities, thank you. Thank you to Jeannie Sparks for your support. Thank you, Patrick O'Donohue. Patrick thinks Trump is literally ripping up the Constitution. We're bringing you live coverage of this news conference. Hey, thanks to QBat on Twitch for the gift subscription. Thanks, QBat. Thank you guys for being here. We are, as you can see, getting ready for Trump and Macron to give a press conference at the White House. I'm sure they will talk about the negotiations over Ukraine. Now, I don't know exactly when it's going to start, but there are a lot of people in that room waiting.
Merci beaucoup. Thank you so much. Thank you. Bon, on laisse ouvert et puis on balance. Oui, oui, ouvre et puis c'est merci. Allez, à tout à l'heure. Au revoir.
Shopbongle says, I'm sure this will be very mature and grown up. Trump will not poke fun at anyone. Ghost Contact Paranormal says, I wonder if anything will transpire out of this. Are we going to have some kind of minerals deal, minerals, rare earths deal between Ukraine and the U.S. this week or next? Trump was saying it could happen soon. AP has a headline right now. Trump expresses hope Russia's war in Ukraine is nearing an endgame as he meets with France's Macron. Trump said today he believed President Putin would accept European peacekeepers in Ukraine to keep the peace. He also expressed hope the conflict could end within weeks and that Ukrainian President Zelensky would soon come to the U.S. to sign a deal to give the U.S. access to Ukraine's critical minerals to help repay some of the $80 billion in American aid that's been sent to Kyiv since the start of the war. Trump said, it looks like we're getting very close with Ukraine. He said Zelensky could potentially visit Washington this week or next to sign the deal. I'm going to post a poll in the chat. Will there be a U.S.-Ukraine minerals deal within 2 weeks? Yes or no? I'm asking you guys in the chat. And I'll show you what you guys say. Let me just post the poll on Facebook as well. All right, so I asked you guys, I said, because Trump said that Zelensky could come and sign this minerals deal in the next week or two. So I asked you guys, I said, hey, is there going to be a minerals deal with the Ukraine and the U.S. in the next 2 weeks? Okay, our viewers on YouTube, look at this. Wow, 50-50 on YouTube. People are split about this over there, 50-50. And then, hang on a minute. Oh, give me one moment. I have a different camera I can show you, by the way. Oh, let me just show you the poll results. Over on Facebook, it's 60 yes, 60% yes, 40% no. And then on Twitch, here's what the Twitch viewers have to say about that question. A little more pessimistic on Twitch, 62% no, 67% no, 33% yes. Akeem Idler says, how's 50-50 even possible? We're on YouTube, it's a 50-50 split. Snurfu says those minerals are in occupied territory. Some of them are, I believe. So, hang on a moment here. Yeah, C. Ayers says 50-50 is a rare split over there in our poll. It's 50-50 right here. Hey, thank you, Mitchell Pilot just gave 20 people memberships. Thank you, Mitchell Pilot. Please thank Mitchell Pilot or somebody else if they give you a membership or a subscription. That's really nice of you, Mitchell Pilot. Thank you. All right, I'm wrapping up the poll. Thanks for voting in our poll, because hopefully this thing is starting soon. I appreciate you voting. People are coming in the room. The White House has not gone live on their own feed, which they normally do right before it's going to start. But with people coming in the room like this, I really think it's going to start very soon. One of our viewers said said Fort Knox announcement. Trump did say again today, he claims that he and Elon are going to go to Fort Knox and make sure the gold is there. Thank you so much to The Gaming Murph, who thinks, in my opinion, this war was always going to end one of two ways, either long-lasting peace in Europe or escalation into a global war. I hope that second option doesn't happen. Thank you, The Gaming Murph. Thank you also, Peppermint Patty, for your support. Ango Giblogian says, why are you humans always fighting? Again, the White House page has not gone live yet, which makes me think maybe it'll be a couple minutes. That might be Caitlin Collins on the right there. Sometimes we see reporters who I know who they are. I don't see, like, Peter Ducey there yet, but maybe he's there and just sitting down. Not Bob Odenkirk says the Fort Knox thing is 100% a publicity stunt. I have a different angle I can show you too. Hang on a second. There's a different angle. Ooh, hold on. Let me go to the different angle. Here's the other angle. How do I do this? There's the other angle. That's angle number 2. We have 2 angles. One's from Reuters, one's from AFP. What time is it planned for? It was supposed to be at 2. That did not happen. Redneck RJ says Trump is always late. Thank you so much, Uncle Lester Cam. Uncle Lester Cam says, does everyone remember when the French let Germany march into Paris without any defense effort? Oh, the White House just went live on their feed. Okay, that's good to know. Now, give me 2 seconds here, because what I'm going to do is, usually they have a really good camera. So, oops, I don't want to do that. So I'm going to get ready to show their feed as well. Got to get ready with all the feeds. So if you give me a second here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this up there. I'm just going to throw it in. I'm just going to throw it up and then take it down for a second. So hold on, bear with me. See that right there? I'll go down here, and now I'll make that go away. But I'm going to be prepared to show that too. Hang on 1 sec. Okay. Let me make sure this is working. There. Okay. We are ready. We are ready to bring you live coverage, guys. So get ready. It should be very soon now. And then after, I will take your comments. You never know what's going to happen in these press conferences. More people coming in. Hold on. More people are coming in. Look, you can see more people. There's J.D. Vance. J.D. Vance just came in. Oh, we're really close to starting now. There's Caitlin Collins on the left. We certainly have our pre-conference covered. We're getting you the big pre-conference coverage. But should be starting any moment now. Get all the camera people on the left there. That is the Reuters cam. The other one is the AFP cam. Thank you, Naval Dominance, for your support. I appreciate it, Naval Dominance. And thanks to all of our moderators again for being there. Really appreciate all of our moderators. Thank you. Any moment now, Trump and President Macron of France. Will there be any big unanticipated announcements or news from this press conference? I do not know. We'll watch it and find out. Milad Jojo says, will this be mainly about Ukraine? I honestly don't know, because sometimes it just depends on what the questions are about. Sometimes you get a bunch of questions about other things. I'm guessing a bunch of it will be about the Ukraine situation, but you never know. Maybe there'll be some questions about the Elon Musk email asking all federal employees what they did this past week. And the deadline to reply is tonight at 11:59 p.m. Eastern Time. Pierre Holstrand, our viewer, says, it's great timing we have Macron to push Trump to be clear on Ukraine.
Ladies and gentlemen, the President
of the
United States and the President of the French Republic.
Here we go. Here we go.
Ladies and gentlemen, the President of the United States.
Hang on. Hang on. Hang on, everyone.
Well, thank you very much, everyone. Great honor to be here with my friend. I'm delighted to welcome President Macron
of the French Republic.
Back
let me
to the
go to the White House feed. Hold on, White House feed.
Quite often, but not that often in the White House. We honored the President, First Lady of France.
Hang on. Going to get you this feed. This will be the best feed. This will be the best one.
Thank you very much, everyone.
Here we go.
Great honor to be here with my friend. I'm delighted to welcome President Macron back to the White House. We've been together quite often, but not that often in the White House. We honored the President, First Lady of France, not so long ago. There was a beautiful evening, and we will not soon forget it. It was a beautiful day and evening, and many fond memories. I also want to thank Emmanuel for hosting me in Paris last December after a historic election win, to witness the reopening of the spectacular Notre Dame Cathedral, where you did an outstanding job in bringing it back together. That was a sad day watching that burn, And 5 years later, you had it up, and it was, they say, more beautiful than it was before. So I think that's a great achievement. That was not easy. France is America's oldest ally. Our cherished partnership has been a force for freedom, prosperity, and peace from the very beginning. We're now working on some very interesting developments. One in particular, as you know, the war between Russia and Ukraine. In the American Revolution, French support helped us to seize our destiny as an independent nation. In the First and Second World Wars, our citizens shed blood together on the battlefields of Europe. And I'll never forget joining President Macron 6 years ago on the 75th anniversary of D-Day. That was some day. The purpose of our meeting today is to end another battle, a really horrible one, a war, something that we haven't seen since the Second World War, that is ravaging European soil, the deadliest and most destructive conflict that one can imagine. I've seen the pictures, I've seen the satellite photos, and lots of other photos, and it's a horrible thing that's happening. Thousands of people are dying a week. This very day is the 3rd anniversary of the invasion of Ukraine, which would never have happened if I was president. That was not going to happen. The horrors of this gruesome and bloody war can scarcely be overestimated. Hundreds of thousands of people, Russians and Ukrainians in particular, have needlessly died. An entire generation of Ukrainians and Russian men has been decimated. 1,000-year-old cities have been turned into rubble. Those beautiful spires that you used to see there, they were most beautiful in the world, they say, are lying in heaps of rubble, blasted to smithereens. It's time to end this bloodletting and restore peace, and I think we're going to do it. We've had some great conversations, including with Russia. Since my return to the White House, we've made more progress toward that goal in 1 month than occurred in the past 3 years. And I've spoken with both President Putin and President Zelensky. And again, a lot of good things toward peace are happening, moving it, I think, pretty quickly. Last week, Secretary of State Marco Rubio, National Security Advisor Michael Waltz, and Special Envoy Steve Witkoff conducted successful talks in Saudi Arabia with the delegation from Russia, and I'd like to thank the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia and the King and Mohammed, great people. They're really working hard to get this done. Our focus is on achieving a ceasefire as soon as possible and ultimately a permanent peace. My meeting with President Macron today was another important step forward in that sphere, because he's been very much involved right from the beginning in trying to get it over with, and we're going to get it done. I believe that Emmanuel agrees with me on many of the most important issues. Chief among them is this is the right time. It may be the only time. You know, that's a very interesting and horrible situation, and that could evolve into a third world war. We're not going to let that happen. Should have never started, but it did. And what a mess, what a horrible, bloody mess. I'm also pleased that President Macron agrees that the cost and burden of securing the peace must be borne by the nations of Europe, not alone by the United States. And Europe must take that central role in assuring long-term security of Ukraine, which they want to do. And that's not a very big step. The big step is what's going to happen over the next few weeks. The United States has put up far more aid for Ukraine than any other nation. Hundreds of billions of dollars. We've spent more than 300 billion, and Europe has spent about 100. 100 billion, that's a big difference. And at some point, we should equalize. But hopefully, we won't have to worry about that. We have other things happening that maybe take that out of the realm of necessity. And while we've given vast amounts of military aid and money in form of grants, much of Europe's contribution has been economic relief structured as loans for which they'll be repaid. Like the Europeans, I believe that taxpayers in the United States also deserve to recoup the colossal amounts of money that we've sent. The previous administration never even thought of that. They didn't think of a lot of things, like why did they let it start in the first place? That is why we must have an agreement with Ukraine on critical minerals and rare earths and various other things as security. And I think that that's happening. I think we've made a lot of progress. I had a report just given to me before walking in that we've made, Emmanuel, a great deal of progress toward getting that. I've been elected by the American people to restore common sense to Washington and indeed to the world. And I believe strongly that it's in the best interest of the United States, the best interest in Europe, the best interest of Ukraine, and indeed the best interest of Russia to stop the killing now and bring the world to peace. My administration is making a decisive break with the foreign policy failures of the past administration and, frankly, the past. I ran against a very foolish foreign policy establishment, and their recklessness has led to the death of many, many people. Under our administration, we're forging a new path that promotes peace around the world. And when I left office for the first our administration, we're forging a new path that promotes peace around the world. And when I left office for the first administration, first term, we had no wars, we had no problems. We didn't have October 7th with Israel. We didn't have Russia and Ukraine going at it. We didn't have the problems in other parts of the Middle East. We didn't have inflation. It was a whole different world. And you know what else we didn't have? Millions of people pouring through our borders, many of them criminals released from other nations and put right into our land, murderers and drug dealers, gangs. We didn't have any of that. It's a different time, but now we have it and we're fixing it. We'll fix it all up. We'll get it done as quickly as possible. And we've made a great deal of progress. People are saying it was the best month for a president in our country's history. I hope that's right, but I feel it's right. We've done a lot of things in a very short period of time, 4 weeks. As I've said before, it's my hope that my greatest legacy, however, will be as a peacemaker and a unifier. I want to bring peace, not war. I thank President Macron for joining us today in this urgent work we're doing. And we have some wonderful people up front right here that have worked so hard. Steve Witkoff, thank you very much. And Michael Waltz, thank you. Scott, thank you very much. And JD, thank you. They've really done a job. They worked very hard. It's a real passion to get this war ended. And I'd like to now invite Emmanuel to say a few words, and then we'll take questions. And again, Emmanuel, it's a great honor to have you with us at the White House. Thank you very much, please.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, dear Donald. Ministers, ladies and gentlemen, mesdames et messieurs, je vais dire quelques...
Ladies and gentlemen, I'll be saying a few words in French. Thank you very much, Mr. President, dear Donald, for your hospitality and for this visit. As you mentioned, we have had the opportunity to meet over the past few years. Since your first term, we've been able to discuss matters in Paris and also here at the White House. And it has always been a great joy to do that, and I would like to commend you. And thank you, Mr. President, for extending this friendship to France and taking part in the ceremony at Notre Dame that you mentioned before. It was a great honor for the French people to reopen the cathedral to the rest of the world, and your presence was a testament to that friendship. As the President said, this friendship dates back to the Revolutionary War, since the beginning of the United States. And whenever we've needed to, we've been able to come together and be on the right side. We've been able to be united to defend peace and sovereignty, namely in the two world wars that marked the 20th century, from Lafayette to Pershing and to the many Americans who landed on Omaha Beach. And we spoke earlier before, and you mentioned that one of those gentlemen was able to visit you here, one of the veterans. This is part of history which puts us in the world that we are in today. And as the President just said, there are many challenges in this world. And over the past few days, we have one main objective, which is the geopolitical situation. Mr. President, I really wish to thank you for making changes to your schedule to meet with us so quickly. I think we've made very substantive steps forward during our discussions, and this is a major step in what we're experiencing today. We had a video conference with all of the G7 leaders, which was an opportunity for us to discuss this matter 3 days after the Russian war in Ukraine and to express our support for President Zelensky to the Ukrainian people, but also to speak and share about our desire for a lasting peace. This is what we have spoken about very forcibly over the past few weeks. We thought that this war was only going to last a few weeks when it broke out in 2022. We admire greatly the courage of the Ukrainian people. And Mr. President, I wish to thank you for this. You mentioned that there are responsibilities on Europe's side, and indeed, we have invested $128 billion in aid to Ukraine and the Ukrainians. Ukraine has been able to hold the front of our collective security. It's fought over these past few years for its independence and for its sovereignty, but also for our collective security, because I think that no one in this room wants to live in a world where it's the law of the strongest and international borders can be violated from one day to the next by anyone. Over the past few hours, and as you mentioned this, Mr. President, we've been able to see a few things take shape. First of all, allow me to commend you on your decision to work with President Zelensky and to conclude this agreement that's so important for the U.S. and Ukraine on rare earths, critical minerals, but also having substantive conversations with President Zelensky during this key phase of achieving this deal, which is a major commitment to Ukraine's sovereignty, and I think that's very commendable. We also have a shared desire to build peace. We will have this responsibility. This is 10 years after the war started in Crimea, and then we saw the events in the Donbas region and along the northern part of the country. We want to save lives. We want to bring prisoners back and bring back families and children, because there's also humanitarian tragedy affecting the Ukrainian people. We had lengthy discussions with the president, and we spoke about our desire to bring an end to conflicts, to have a truce that is measurable, verifiable, and that enables negotiation of a lasting peace, where we will discuss not only Ukraine's reconstruction, its territories, but also the security guarantees, meaning maintaining peace over the long term. As I said to the president, we've experienced peace accords that were only ceasefires without ensuring security guarantees, Minsk I and II. And we want to make sure this doesn't happen again. And I know that the president has expressed the desire to be a player for peace in the region. I've spoken with some 30 European leaders and allies in recent days. We want to bring together these allies, and share the same vision. This peace must not mean a surrender of Ukraine. It must not mean a ceasefire without guarantees. This peace must allow for Ukrainian sovereignty and allow Ukraine to negotiate with other stakeholders regarding the issues that affects it. But it is also a country in which we need to shoulder our responsibilities so that we ensure security and stability for Ukraine and for the entire region. And for us Europeans, this is an existential issue. We also spoke about these issues at length with the president. We've worked with President Zelensky and gotten to some of the details of the various phases of the negotiation. And we've also been able to speak about some of this work with our British partners to talk about deployments of peace forces on Ukrainian soil, which are part of these security guarantees. Other countries are ready to join in this effort. Solidarity and support from the U.S. will be crucial to this, and I thank you, Mr. President, for beginning to work with us on this issue and the agreement that you are preparing to sign with Ukraine and with all of these discussions we've had are very solid guarantees that we are understood and that we have the same wish, peace as soon as possible, lasting, solid peace for everyone. And the renewal of an international situation where we are all able to shoulder our responsibilities, Europeans shouldering their responsibilities alongside their American allies who will shoulder their own responsibilities. I also wanted to be very clear, Mr. President, about Europe's commitment. We have committed to building a lasting peace. As Europeans, we have committed to being stakeholders in these security guarantees. And we are also well aware that Europeans need to do more for security in Europe, for defense in Europe, and to more fairly share the security burden that your country's been carrying for so many years. Mr. President, you know how much friendship I show towards you and I have towards you since your first term. Europe is very clear-eyed about this. We know what we need to do as Europeans, given the threats surrounding us and the responsibilities that we must shoulder. We spoke about the Versailles Agenda, which allowed the Europeans to take a historic step and increase their investments. Europeans are ready to do even more and to go even farther. And several leaders said that to me before I came here to meet you. Mr. President, dear Donald, you spoke about this peace through strength. We fully share that because we must recognize the sacrifices made by the Ukrainian people and what we owe to them. The President and I also spoke about economic matters and our desire to see more prosperity in the United States and in Europe. We had discussions which will be carried on by our teams, our ministers and secretaries, to flesh out some of those ideas. But the idea is to have fair competition and no bias within competition between our industries. Now, the American and European economies are extremely intertwined. Some 1.5 billion in trade, trillion rather, in goods and services, and I know you've spoken about wanting to look at the balance of payments. We also have a trade deficit, and I know that we need to look not only at goods, but also digital items and goods which you export, and we want to make a sincere commitment towards fair competition where we have smooth trade and more investments. You already invest a great deal in France, and France is the fifth largest investor in the United States. And I would like to recognize here all of the American investors who announced investments, some $120 billion that were announced at the AI summit. This is our wish. We want to have more prosperity on both sides of the Atlantic. We have a shared agenda in that regard. We also spoke about the Middle East, among other subjects, and here again, we have the same desire. We don't want to see Iran obtain nuclear weapons. We don't want, or rather, we want an approach with partners in the region that we can trust. Given Iran's nuclear activities, we want to limit its ballistic capabilities and avoid any type of regional destabilization. With respect to Syria and Iraq, we also share the same desire. We don't want to see Islamic terrorist groups resume any of their activities because for some time our armies have very bravely been engaged in the Gulf, as you have led, and contributions have been significant and helped stability in the region. And I say this with great sincerity. France was affected by a terrorist attack in 2015, which was linked to the terrorist activity in Syria. And we are in that region at your side to work for more security. Ladies and gentlemen, we had extremely productive discussions this morning during the conference, and we spoke with our ministers and counselors and advisors. And I wish to say, after speaking with President Trump, I fully believe that there is a path forward. We share the same beliefs. We know what work needs to be done, and in the weeks to come, we will work on that. Our teams will come together in various formats to make sure that we have this solid, lasting peace with great strength. Mr. President, thank you so much for welcoming me here today. Thank you so much for these productive discussions and for your commitment. Thank you, dear Donald.
Thank you, Emmanuel. Thank you very much. Okay, thank you very much. Brian, would you like to ask a question? Go ahead.
Welcome, President Trump. I just want to touch upon real quickly the Harvard poll that came out that had, thank you very much, the Harvard poll that came out had you up 9+ points, and all of your agenda that you ran on, you're accomplishing that. You got the support of the American people, including stopping the war in Ukraine. If you can comment on the latest Harvard poll, I'd appreciate that.
Well, I was honored by it. It was a big poll, and it's usually a poll that leans on the other side of things, the other side of the world, so to speak. But the Harvard poll is a respected poll, and it has us not only leading, but leading by a lot, and leading on every single issue that we've talked about. And as I said, we've become the party of common sense. And I think that's a very important element now, common sense, because what's happening in the world and even in this country, some of the things that took place, many of them are now canceled, and the rest are being canceled as we speak. But we've moved very rapidly and I think very effectively. So I was honored by that poll. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Go ahead, please, go ahead.
Mr. President, you said before that you would like to see Russia.
Yes, go ahead.
Are there any conditions that you want Russia to meet and you're meeting in Saudi Arabia with President Putin, will that happen regardless of any progress on the Ukrainian file?
Yeah, I think the meeting in Saudi Arabia was a fantastic one. We met with the Crown Prince, who's a fantastic young guy. He's young, but with great imagination and tremendously respected all over the world. And he goes right to the king, and the king is incredible. Gotten to be friends with both of them very much, and they want to see this ended, and they're going all out to make sure that it is ended. I think Russia, likewise, I've spoken to President Putin, and my people are dealing with him constantly, and his people in particular. And they want to do something. I mean, that's what I do. I do deals. My whole life is deals. That's all I know is deals. And I know when somebody wants to make it and when somebody doesn't. I will say this, before I came here, there was no communication with Russia whatsoever, and Russia wasn't answering calls. They were not talking to anybody. They wouldn't talk to anybody, and people sort of accepted that as being that they want to go forward and just keep going without stop. But when I got here, one of the first calls I made was to President Putin, and we were treated with great respect, and they want to end this war. So that's a big thing, because I didn't know if I could say that, but it's a big thing. They want to do it, and the group in the front row that I introduced, they're all very active in it, and we're working on deals right now, transactions right now, and in particular, the big one is to get the war stopped, whether it's ceasefire or direct to an agreement. I'd like to go directly to an agreement, but ceasefire will always happen a little bit quicker, and every day you're saving thousands, or at least hundreds, but thousands in some cases lives, so we want to see if we can get that done very quickly. Yes, for the President, please.
Thank you. I'm a correspondent based in Paris. Question for both of you, actually. Mr. Macron, you were one of the last Western leaders to speak to Putin before Ukraine's invasion. what advice, what recommendation could you make to President Trump to make sure that this time you can get strong enough guarantees, from Putin to get a peace deal that lasts this time? And Mr. President Trump, what makes you think you can trust Putin in those negotiations? Thank you.
Look, I will never give any advice to President Trump. We have friendly and trustful discussion, but my experience with President Putin is the following. Number one, I always think it's good to have discussion with other leaders, and especially when you disagree. I stopped my discussion with President Putin after Bucha and the war crimes because I considered that, we had nothing to get from him in that time. Now this is there is a big change because there is a new US administration, so this is a new context. So there is good reason for President Trump to re-engage with President Putin. But my experience is the following, and I shared it with President Trump and the team. In 2014, our predecessors negotiated peace with President Putin. But because of the lack of guarantees, and especially security guarantees, President Putin violated this peace. And I had several discussions, especially beginning of 2022, several times, 7 hours with President Putin, 15 days before launching of the attack. He denied everything, but we didn't have security guarantees. So this is why being strong and having deterrence capacities is the only way to be sure it will be respected. And I insisted on that, and this is why I believe that the US has the capacity to do so. And this is why I think we should never say, I will never send any boots on the ground, because you give a blank check to violate any type of commitment. So I think it's good to have discussion. I think it's useful to have negotiation. I think it's super important to go to the peace. But my strong point was to say, let's try to get something first which can be assessed, checked and verified. And let's be sure that we build sufficient guarantees on the short run. And this is where we are ready to be engaged. As for France, a lot of my European colleagues are ready to be engaged. But we do need this American backup, because this is part of the credibility of the security guarantees. And this is our collective deterrence capacity. And I have the feeling that the President has this capacity.
I think it's very much to the benefit of Russia to make a deal. And I feel that we'll do that. It is what it is. Again, it's a war that should have never been started. It's a war that would not have been started if I were president. But it did start, and it's at a terrible level where cities are burned down and shot down to the ground. It looks like demolition sites, a whole big pile of demolition sites, and we got to get it stopped. Too many people, too much agony. The whole culture is destroyed when you rip down some of those ancient, really ancient or near ancient buildings. It's so sad to see, but I think it's very much to the benefit of this tremendous distrust on both sides. That's why it's good that I'm coming in now, but I think it's to the very much benefit of Russia to make a deal and to go on with leading Russia in a very positive way. That's what you have to do. But I really believe that he wants to make a deal. Maybe wrong, but I believe he wants to make a deal. Yeah, go ahead, please.
Mr. President, next week there's a key deadline for your Canada and Mexico tariffs.
Pour les droits.
I believe those countries have done enough on the border to stop those from taking effect. And for President Macron, I'm wondering if you believe that this critical minerals deal with Ukraine represents a de facto security guarantee by the United States, since the U.S. would have an interest in protecting those reserves in Ukraine. Thank you.
We're on time with the tariffs, and it seems like that's moving along very rapidly. We've been mistreated very badly by many countries, not just Canada and Mexico. We've been taken advantage of. We were led by, in some cases, fools, because anybody that would sign documents like they signed, where they were able to take advantage of the American people, like has happened over the last long period of time, except for a little 4-year period that took place 4 years ago. But anybody that would agree to allow this to happen to our country should be ashamed of themselves. No, the tariffs are going forward on time, on schedule. This is an abuse that took place for many, many years. And I'm not even blaming the other countries that did this. I blame our leadership for allowing it to happen. I mean, you know, who can blame them if they made these great deals with the United States, took advantage of the United States on manufacturing, on just about everything. Every aspect that you can imagine they took advantage of. I look at some of these agreements, I'd read them at night, and I'd say, who would ever sign a thing like this? So the tariffs will go forward, yes, and we're going to make up a lot of territory. All we want is reciprocal. We want reciprocity. We want to have the same. So if somebody charges us, we charge them. It's very simple, but it'll be very good for our country. Our country will be extremely liquid and rich again. Plus, we're doing other things, as you know. We're finding tremendous waste, fraud, and abuse at levels that nobody thought possible. You're seeing what's going on. And that was also part of the Harvard poll. Do you agree with what President Trump is doing with Elon and others that are looking for the waste, fraud, and abuse? And the numbers were staggering. It was like 70% to 2%. Everybody wants to find out. They don't like it. And, you know, the radical left or whoever it may be starts screaming about the Constitution, but it has nothing to do with the Constitution. It has to do with fairness to this country. It has to do with being ripped off. And when you read the things that all of these billions, and I mean many billions, hundreds of billions of dollars have been spent on, that's all you have to do is stand up here and read them. I could stand up all day and read the kind of things where we're spending all of this money. The good news is that when you think of how rich a nation we can be when we get rid of this, you know, sometimes you'll buy a company and you'll see it was really well run. They accounted for every penny. Well, not much you can do there. You got yourself a bad deal. This one is the exact opposite. Tremendous fraud, tremendous waste. And when you think of what it is, you know, Elon uses an expression, caring. If we had people that cared, just cared a little bit when they did contracts, when they negotiated with outside vendors on behalf of the United States. That's what I'm doing now. I'm negotiating for the people of the United States. So we're doing a great job of it. I will say we found it'll be hundreds of billions of dollars of waste and fraud and abuse. Thank you. Please.
Look, I think this discussion is a very important one. First, because it's important for the US, and it will be a good occasion for a first very important meeting between President Trump and President Zelensky. Second, I think there is a lot of economic upside on both sides. And third, de facto, there is a recognition of Ukrainian sovereignty, a recognition of the Ukrainian interests, and this is de facto a very important alignment of interests. Now, the security guarantees will be negotiated in due time in a full-fledged package of a peace security. But this peace, as it is now written and negotiated, and as this meeting is scheduled, is an important step forward, full-fledged peace agreement.
Okay, please, go ahead. To the President.
Monsieur le Président Trump.
President Trump, President Macron.
To make a deal with Putin. So when you do a deal, it's a win-win deal. What are you giving to him and what is he going to give you to America? And I was impressed by the way you referred to Notre Dame and that you were impressed by the reconstruction of Notre Dame. A lot of Americans have sent money to Paris to participate to the reconstruction of Notre Dame. As a President of the United States, are you going to contribute to the reconstruction of Ukraine? Et Monsieur le Président Macron?
President Macron, what for you is the main area of progress in your meeting with President Trump? Can you confirm that there is an agreement to send European peacekeeping troops? Will France participate in that? How many troops? What would they be doing? Would this represent a great danger to send French and European troops to Ukraine?
Well, I guess it's a little strange question because you ask whether or not we're going to, on behalf of the United States, contribute to Ukraine. I mean, we're in there for about $350 billion. I think that's a pretty big contribution. I do appreciate the first part of your question, however, because I think they've done an incredible job with the Cathedral of Notre Dame. I think the president has done. I know he headed it up, and I know how hard he worked, and it took a period of time, but really not a long period of time considering what that was, so delicate, so beautiful. And I was there, and I saw the work, and I'm very good at construction. I know good construction. I know bad construction. They did a beautiful job, and this man has to be given a lot of credit for that. It's an incredible cathedral. Most people thought it couldn't be saved, and if it was, it would have to be built in a different form, and we didn't want to see a different form. We wanted to see the same form that you built. So I just want to congratulate you. That was an amazing job. I don't think you've gotten enough credit for it. Someday you will. Someday you will.
Thank you, Donald. Merci beaucoup.
Thank you very much. To go back to your question, today's discussion showed several areas of progress. First, we have been working a great deal with President Zelensky to have a proposal that's acceptable to Ukraine. President Trump has confirmed that he will be meeting with President Zelensky very soon to finalize the agreement on critical minerals and rare earths and to speak together about that matter. That's a very important step forward. The second thing is that during our discussions, we were able to go into some of the details about the proposal that we have just made to have a truce, a peace, and be able to measure that and then structure our discussions on that basis. France and several other European countries, along with Ukraine, are hard at work to build this lasting peace with very specific points, including security guarantees, the territories that belong to Ukraine, the issue of reconstruction, the economy, and critical minerals. We've been able to go into the details of those proposals. The third area of progress, which really mark a turning point, is the fact that we were able to talk about the details of the security guarantees. And the president has shown this over the past few days, and he said so a moment ago. We want peace. He wants peace. We want peace swiftly, but we don't want an agreement that is weak. The fact that there are Europeans that are ready to engage to provide for these security guarantees. And now there's a clear American message that the U.S., as an ally, is ready to provide that solidarity for that approach. That's a turning point, in my view. And that is one of the great areas of progress that we've made during this trip and during this discussion. When it comes to troops, in the past, a year ago specifically, we saw a reason to talk about sending troops for strategic regions. Today, when we talk about troops, we're talking about sending them in after we've negotiated a lasting peace. And once we have that solid, lasting peace, that's part of an agreement signed by Ukraine, signed by Russia, and for which we will provide the guarantees, then at that point, and recently France has worked with the UK to provide its contributions. We've worked on plans. We've worked with our militaries not to go to the front lines, not to go into occupied territories, but as a show of support to show that we have a negotiated peace signed by both sides, and that is a peace we will preserve. So these would be peaceful deployments of troops, not for combat. These would be deployments of an assurance force. They would be limited, but they show solidarity. I've also spoken with all of our allies, and there are European and non-European allies who are ready and willing to take part in that effort. Countries have helped Ukraine maintain its military capabilities in terms of the number of soldiers it has, equipment, whereas others have provided logistical support on the ground. The question is whether or in what form the U.S. will contribute. And during our discussions, and during the discussions with Russia, we've understood that this would be acceptable to Russia, and that's a very important area of progress. And that means that in this context, the Europeans will shoulder their part of the burden, their share of the burden. We have a strong alliance that we've built over the decades. We have our solidarity, and we have deterrence capacities. What does it mean? Would it be dangerous? If there is an agreement signed by Ukraine and Russia, thanks to the efforts of President Trump, and if we provide the guarantees and Russia violates the agreement, then it would be in conflict with everyone who is engaged in the peace process. And that is a change. That was something we did not see in the past. That's not what we saw in 2014. So that is the real change that we're marking. We have this deterrence capacity on the American side. We have the capacity for engagement on the European side, and that's something we're going to continue working on together. It's not dangerous, but it's credible. It's less dangerous than things that could happen in the long term. And I think this is what we need to do to ensure security. And I say this very clearly. We're also talking about security for Europeans. I've been saying this for weeks now. If we do not guarantee the security of this territory within Europe, then how can we guarantee our own security for one and all? We live just 1,500 kilometers from Ukraine, and the Germans and Polish are even closer. So our collective security is important. We need to answer this call for Europeans to be more engaged, and Americans will be there still in solidarity. Europeans are working for their collective security, but I really think this was a turning point today in our discussions.
Emmanuel, thank you very much. Great job, and it's been wonderful being with you. Say hello to your beautiful wife, and we will see you again soon. We'll be speaking often. We'll get this thing worked out. We're going to get it done. So important, and great job.
Thank you.
All right, that's President Trump and President Macron walking off. All right, there they go. That was President Trump and President Macron. A lot of talk about Ukraine and trying to get some sort of deal that will end the war. I don't recall any kind of huge news that was made in that press conference. Maybe you disagree with me, but clearly both of them would like some sort of deal to end the conflict, the Russian invasion of Ukraine. So what do you guys think? I want to take some comments from you. Give me a shout. Let me know your thoughts. By the way, quick thanks for your support. Kim Hayes, Rachel Hudson, Uncle Lester Cam. Thanks for your support. I really appreciate it. And PsyOps as well, and Jen Junkie, and Big Chief Rick, and Notorious Rob over there on Twitch. All right, let me know your thoughts on this. Also, Enterprise 714, thank you. Let's see. Kenneth Cobb thinks it's obvious they don't agree. Let's see here. Manu BA says this could have been an email. Ninja Baseball Batman thought it was a very productive nothing burger. Hassel DeHoff says just words. Linda Golaher thought Trump didn't really seem like he gave a crap with anything Macron said. Let's see here. Casa Magica says, I did not really understand what they plan in detail. Well, I mean, there is no detailed plan with Russia right now. We have to wait and see what happens in those negotiations. What will that look like? What will the proposal be to end this conflict? Will Ukraine get any of its land back that Russia is occupying? What kind of security guarantees might there be? You heard that repeatedly. President Macron of France said he wants a deal where there's some sort of part of the deal that's gonna make it so that Russia can't just start attacking Ukraine again. You know, an idea that's been brought up is European troops somewhere in Ukraine, but we don't know yet what in theory, this deal would look like. So we talked earlier, Reuters had reported a few days ago that possibly part of the deal could be these frozen Russian funds in Europe that they could go to help rebuild Ukraine, and maybe part of them would go to rebuild the part of Ukraine that Russia has taken over. Anyway, so we'll just have to wait and see what exactly is going to happen. But with this proposed deal, but something that Macron talked about is wanting these security guarantees, something in the deal that's going to make it difficult for Russia to just make a deal and then sometime in the future just keep invading Ukraine. You know, there is a concern by some that Russia would make some sort of deal and then use the ceasefire to rebuild their armed forces and then just invade Ukraine again and try to take more territory. So what's to prevent that from happening? Let's see here. By the way, thank you to Hendershot, who says, is there any chance Russia is okay with France stationing troops in Ukraine post-peace deal? That seems unlikely, no. We don't know. President Trump, I think a couple days ago, claimed that he had spoken to Putin and that Putin had given an okay for European peacekeepers to be somewhere in Ukraine. I don't know that Putin has said that. I don't believe he said that publicly. So I don't know what, it's a good question what Russia will be okay with and not okay with. These are good questions and we don't know. Here, look. So let me, as an example, let me just show you this. Let me show you this as an example of what we were just talking about here. Hang on. Oops. Putin says he has not discussed ending war in Ukraine in detail with Trump. This is from AP, Associated Press. Maybe there's a picture of Putin. There's Zelensky. Anyways, I'll put the picture of Zelensky up. So AP reports Russian President Putin said today that he has not discussed resolving the conflict in Ukraine in detail with President Trump, and neither did Russian and American negotiating teams when they met last week in Saudi Arabia. In remarks broadcast on state television, Putin also said Russia does not rule out European countries participating in a peace settlement. That's different from, he's definitely a yes. Earlier in the day, this was earlier today. I thought it was like yesterday. Anyways, earlier in the day, Trump said he believed Putin would accept European peacekeepers in Ukraine as part of a potential deal to end the war and said he had asked Putin that question. Putin and senior Russian officials had previously indicated they will not accept Western forces in Ukraine. So I don't know what to tell you. You know, maybe Putin says one thing now and then another thing in the negotiations. Our viewer Arc2 says, so that NATO encroachment wasn't a problem after all if Putin accepts EU troops in Ukraine. Now, in theory, they would be there as peacekeeping troops. Our viewer, what's the viewer's name? Ocelotosaurus Rex or something like that, thinks Putin cannot be trusted, ever. If I have that right. Comment flew by. Let's see here. We'll take some of more of your comments here. Fry My Brain says Trump is Trump making it seem like there's progress where there's none. You know, I have no idea. Trump said that this week or next week, Zelensky could come to the U.S. to announce a minerals deal with the U.S. And U.S. officials keep saying it's really close. Is it close? Is it going to happen? I don't know. We'll have to see. Thanks, by the way, to Beam Me Up and Interactive for your support. Beam Me Up thinks Putin will be given a deal that Ukraine won't be able to join NATO and Russia will be given Donbass. If he reinvades, instant NATO membership given to Ukraine. That's what Beam Me Up thinks. Steeny thinks neither can be trusted. They are laughing right now. I think Steeny maybe is talking about Putin and Trump. Let's see here. Checking some other things people have sent me. Our viewer PW360 says Putin is saying some really interesting things right now. The Woodland Ghost Tracker wrote me something a little while ago. What position does Elon have in the government watching live? I believe technically he is part of this advisory agency. Isn't that what it is? But that's a legal question. I don't have a ready answer for you. If I can get something real quick, I will. Or is he not formally part of Doge? I don't even know. I mean, there's an article from NPR from a week ago saying he is known as he's known as a special government employee, which is a designation for people who join the government for a short period of time, typically to provide specialized expertise. But I'm not exactly sure. I don't necessarily want to spend, it's a good question. I don't want to spend lots of time on that because we could get into a lot of detail over a lot of time. It's a little bit off topic. Let's see here. But I appreciate the question. Thanks, by the way, to Azadeh Zari, our new member. Ari G said they claimed he was not part of Doge in one of the lawsuits. Trump claimed otherwise. Yeah, I know there's been some question about this. Again, I don't, at the moment, I don't think I'm going to get into the technicalities of it. Although I will say again that the Elon Musk email to all federal employees saying that they needed to write back with bullet points saying what they had done in the last week. The deadline to reply is 11:59 p.m. tonight, Eastern Time, but a number of government agencies have told their workers to hold off on replying. So I don't know where all that is going. That's something we will keep an eye on. Hang on one moment here. One moment. Rabbit says, I know that email address was super busy over the weekend. You can see this right here. Reuters, in sign of division, some U.S. agencies tell workers to ignore Musk ultimatum. Elon Musk's order for U.S. government workers to justify their jobs opened divisions in President Trump's administration, with some agencies telling workers to respond to the chainsaw-wielding billionaire by a Monday night deadline, and others telling workers to ignore him. Musk's directive to the nation's 2.3 million civil service workers to provide a 5-point summary of their work by 11:59 p.m. Eastern Time tonight raised questions about how much authority the world's richest person can wield in Trump's government as he leads an effort to slash the federal payroll. The Saturday message took some administration officials by surprise, according to two sources. Trump, however, stood by Musk. I thought it was great, he told reporters at the White House. There was a lot of genius in sending it. We're trying to find out if people were working. The countermanding, going against of Musk's order by some agency leaders was the first sign of internal resistance to his blunt force approach to downsizing the federal government. Senior officials of the Defense, State, Justice, and Homeland Security departments, the FBI, and several other agencies told workers not to respond outside their established chain of command. The Department of Health and Human Services and the federal and FEMA initially told workers to cooperate, then told them to stand down. Meanwhile, the Transportation Department, the Treasury Department, and independent agencies like the FTC and the FCC have told employees to answer Musk's message. His email was also sent to political appointees at the White House, who presumably would not be viewed with suspicion by the president, according to two sources. It was also sent to federal judges and other employees of the court system, who make up a separate branch of government and do not answer to the administration. On Monday, a group of labor unions have asked a federal judge to stop the mass fire. That has asked a federal judge to stop the mass firings. Updated their lawsuit to request that Musk's email be ruled illegal. Reuters says Chris Farinella, a fired IRS agent in New York, said he was trying to figure out whether he should cancel an upcoming dentist appointment because he had not been told whether he still had health care coverage through his job. He said, I don't know what I'm going to do at this point in time. I might have to look to sell my house because I don't have severance or anything. He said, I feel pretty much devastated. So we'll have to see if anything comes out of this email and people's replies to it. I have no idea. Yay for you says Musk is trolling again. Oh, yes. In case you missed it, the press conference, as one of our viewers had already happened. You can rewind to replay the press conference. Press conference Post coverage. Oops, there's an extra dash in there. Just so people know that it's earlier. So if you missed it, you can watch it. Can we get a recap on what was said? Well, what I will say is I don't know that there was any super big news, but they talked about a possible Ukraine deal a lot. Peter, our viewer, said, for everybody in the U.S. to understand, USA is considered untrustworthy government for European politicians. I Ain't Got No says, Elon can't fire me, I am retired. Sven Kier says Trump is winning again. That's the base of it. Austin Batman says recap, not much new. Foster Percival said make federal workers poor again. Let me just also check for updates here. Oh, I have an update about the Musk email thing. In case you missed it, Trump had posted today about talking to Putin. He said, today, President Macron of France joined me in the Oval Office to speak to the G7 summit. The meeting was convened by, he says, Governor Justin Trudeau, when it's actually Prime Minister Justin Trudeau of Canada, the current chair of G7, because Trump keeps talking about this thing about Canada being the 51st state, to acknowledge the third anniversary of the Russia-Ukraine war, which would have never started if I was president. Everyone expressed their goal of seeing the war end, and I emphasized the importance of the vital critical minerals and rare earths deal between the U.S. and Ukraine, which we hope will be signed very soon. This deal, which is an economic partnership, will ensure the American people recoup the tens of billions of dollars in military equipment sent to Ukraine, while also helping Ukraine's economy grow as this brutal and savage war comes to an end. At the same time, I am in serious discussions with President Putin of Russia concerning the ending of the war and also major economic development transactions with Russia, which will take place between the United States and Russia. Talks are proceeding very well. I don't know what those major economic development transactions are. Jazzy Renee says, Our viewer Kim says about the Elon Musk email to all federal employees, it's very simple. Everyone got an email, just respond, LOL. People are so negative. We all know how to write emails. I mean, I will say, if you think your job depends on the email and what you say, it's probably not a simple thing to just dash off a response. You're probably going to put a lot of time and effort and have a lot of concern about how you reply. Am I going to come on about the Pope at some point? If the news warrants it. Right now, I don't really have a big update. So, if there's big developments, we might do a stream on it. Where is the thing I was going to just show you? Hang on. Hang on a moment. I hope he continues to do better. Here's a little update on the Elon email situation. This is from the Washington Post. Confusion sweeps government as agencies give mixed guidance on Musk demand. Confusion swept through the federal government today as agencies offered their workers divergent guidance on how to reply to an email campaign spearheaded by Elon Musk asking them to answer by midnight, "What did you do last week?" Some agency heads sent emails telling staff to respond, only to issue new guidance about an hour later, telling them to hold off. Others sent around canned language so workers could comply with the billionaire's order without disclosing classified information. One chief in IT at the Social Security Administration disseminated a list of words for employees to avoid using in their roundups. Do not use the word policy. Do not include the words process or procedure. Many workers interviewed by the Washington Post this morning said they would comply with their agency's guidance, whatever the finalized version turned out to be. Others had hired outside lawyers for help, weighing their obligation to their bosses with their commitment to keeping sensitive information under wraps. And at some agencies, employees outright refused to reply and appeared to find ways to push back against the directive. I had heard about this today. I saw a video of this today. Inside the Department of Housing and Urban Development, for example, TV monitors showed a looping video of an apparently falsified scene, possibly AI generated, depicting President Trump sucking Elon Musk's toes, according to people at Housing and Urban Development who shared photos and videos. Yes, I saw posts about that on social media today. There's a number of posts you can find apparently showing that video playing somewhere at the Department of Housing and Urban Development. How that happened, I have no idea. A National Institutes of Health employee said, "I feel like I'm going to get fired no matter what. There is no reason I should have to tell a bot-like email what I do all day. The email is not my boss." Okay. The demand to report work accomplishments was disseminated after a week of sweeping fires of probationary employees. Elon Musk had written on X that if federal workers failed to respond by the Monday night deadline to the email requesting a 5-bullet point summation of their activities, it would be taken as a resignation. The email was blasted to millions of employees, including some who were not eligible for the initial deferred resignation deal. Some political appointees, judges, and military intelligence officers, among others, received it. One State Department employee told the Washington Post, "This is clear evidence Musk has no idea what he is doing. This requirement is a huge national security risk." A message sent to courthouse staff in South Carolina said, "If you received the email from hr@opm.gov regarding the subject, 'What did you do last week?' do not respond to it." An email to Library of Congress staff similarly instructed them to ignore the email. The email to Library of Congress staff said any valid request for an accounting of your time, activities, or accomplishments will come from your supervisor, your service unit management, or library leadership. It is not library policy for its staff to bypass management to report on library business to external parties. Meanwhile, the Transportation Department told employees to respond as requested. One Immigrations and Customs Enforcement employee said they were on vacation without computer access. "So if they fire me when I come back, that's on them," the employee said. "And it would be pretty stupid for Musk to recommend firing employees essential to this administration's priorities." Anyways, again, I don't know what's going to happen with this. I don't know if any workers will be let go or attempted, or whether the government will attempt to fire any workers based on their response to this email. I just have no idea. Ruvi, our viewer Ruvi says, just answer the email saying received and you will not be fired. Bluesy Girl says, if your boss asks you, you need to tell them and not cry. Now, to be clear, like I just showed you one of the emails sent out to, like the Library of Congress email sent out reportedly to employees, basically is saying that the person who sent the email to you is not your boss. DB101 says, did Doge employees get one too? Jewish Pickle says, just send an email, everyone. Stop being a drama queen. Yeah, our viewer pointed out that the email says, CC your supervisor, Austin Batman said. I forget what the exact, the email said, CC your manager. Babalu, our viewer Babalu writes in and says, Babalu thinks Elon is using a broad stroke to paint all federal workers as lazy and incompetent, and that is so wrong. That's what our viewer Babalu said. Oh, Amy Rebecca pointed out that, oh, didn't we? No, we read that post already, I think. President Trump posted on X, but it's a post we just read a little earlier. But thank you, Amy Rebecca, for mentioning that. Let me also see if in the last few minutes Elon Musk has posted anything new about this email. So Elon Musk posted a video where it was a person who posted a video of a clip of Trump and Macron today. And I guess I'd have to watch this and make sure he really said this. I mean, we watched it. I can't remember every word he said. Does he actually say this? Hold on. Yeah, Trump said something like, if you don't answer the email, you're sort of semi-fired or you're fired. And Elon Musk posted 38 minutes ago, the president was clear, suggesting that people need to answer the email. Let's see here. Hang on a second here. Take a few more comments. Bill Kilmer said, did the White House staff all receive this email? That I don't know. Oh, and something our viewer Ernest Connell just pointed out, thanks Ernest, is that the federal government funding expires next month. When is it? It's like March something. What is it, like March 15th or something? That is a good thing. That's something to keep in mind. That's something to keep in mind as we move forward. Where is the... Is it the 15th? March 14th, is it? I think it's March 14th, maybe. Yes. I'm looking at an NBC News article that talks about a March 14th deadline to prevent a government shutdown. That's only in 18 days, guys. 18 days. So will a budget deal be released, or might there be a government shutdown? That's sneaking up. Good point by our viewer. Thanks also to Raphael Legond. For your support. Who knows, maybe in a few weeks we'll be covering a government shutdown. Wickedest Witch says it was a threatening email. Is that allowed in any workplace? Kay Lee says Clinton downsized a lot more than this. Where were all the cries then? Now, to be clear, when under the Clinton administration, when they downsized the government, it was done. Congress passed legislation approving it. So that's one important difference. I believe it took a lot more time, the Clinton downsizing. See if I can find something really quick for you on that. But again, I do know that that was done through Congress. And also, CBS News points out that the Clinton-era program took 6 months to make its recommendations. So those are two differences. All right. Nokia says, what do you make of all the town hall meetings where people appear to be speaking out? There have been reporting, and there's been videos shown of several town hall meetings where people in Congress have these town hall meetings, and some of their constituents show up angry about the government cuts. I can't comment on. Clearly, there are people at these town hall meetings upset about the cuts in government positions, but I don't know how representative those people are of their whole constituency. It could be the case that a lot of their constituency feels the same way. It could be the case that when they have a town hall, people are much more likely to go to the town hall if they are against what's happening than if they support what's happening. So I can't really draw, it's like anecdotal evidence where you have clearly cases of some people being upset, but I cannot draw from that. It's not, that in itself doesn't tell you how widespread these feelings are, and I just don't know. I just don't know. It's a good question, but I don't know. Yeah, I mean, just if you want to look at, there's a PolitiFact article. Somebody brought up the Clinton cuts. And PolitiFact said that the government offered mass buyouts under Clinton, but there's a key difference with what's happening now, which is a bipartisan Congress overwhelmingly approved Clinton's program following months of review. So that's one difference. Okay. I thank you so much to Jerry Kovacs for your support. I appreciate that. Anyways, a lot of stories to keep an eye on. One other thing I want to speak about, because we've been talking a bunch about a possible Ukraine mineral deal today. So I want to talk about a little background on that just for a second. By the way, thank you to Ukra King for your support. Ukra King says, I am all for trimming the fat, but I am not for firing federal employees for not agreeing with or prosecuting Trump. That's what dictators do. That's what Ukra King said. Thanks for your support. Also, thanks to PsyOps. Just a little background on this mineral deal that we've been talking about. There's supposed to be video of Macron meeting with U.S. senators. I don't know what that, or maybe it's just a video of the hallway. I don't see them actually talking. Anyways, I'll keep an eye on it. I just want to mention this. This is an article from AP. Negotiations between the U.S. and Ukraine over continued American military aid in exchange for access to Ukraine's valuable mineral resources are gaining traction after a rocky start, something Ukraine hopes will secure long-term support for its defense against Russia, because the U.S. is the #1 supplier of defense aid to Ukraine in fighting off of Russia. Ukraine has offered to strike a deal with President Trump, which would supply the U.S. with rare earth. Oh, hold on, what is this? Oh, that's not really anything big. Which has offered, Trump has offered to strike a deal with Ukraine has offered to strike a deal with President Trump, which would supply the U.S. with rare earth elements critical for various technologies. But Ukraine balked at initial U.S. offers, arguing they didn't contain adequate security assistance for Ukraine and that the proposed price tag of $500 billion would saddle generations of Ukrainians with debt. But signs from both sides say the gap might be closing. We did a poll earlier in this broadcast as to whether you thought there would be a deal in the next 2 weeks, and people were pretty mixed on that. What are rare earth elements? Rare earth elements are a set of 17 elements that are essential to many kinds of consumer technology, including cell phones, hard drives, and electric and hybrid vehicles. It's unclear if Trump is seeking specific elements in Ukraine, which has other minerals to offer. China is the world's largest producer of rare earth elements. Both the U.S. and Europe have sought to reduce their dependence on Beijing. For Ukraine, such a deal would ensure that its biggest and most consequential ally doesn't freeze military support. That's what's in it for Ukraine. If the U.S. freezes military support, that would be devastating for the country. The idea comes at a time when reliable and uninterrupted access to critical minerals is increasingly hard to come by globally. Also, something to know, Ukraine's rare earth elements are largely untapped because of the war and because of state policies regulating the mineral industry. The country also lacks good information to guide the development of rare earth mining. Geological data is thin because mineral reserves are scattered across Ukraine, and existing studies are considered largely inadequate. Ukraine's reserves of titanium are believed to be among Europe's largest. That is a key component for the aerospace, medical, and automotive industries. Ukraine also holds some of Europe's largest known reserves of lithium, which is required to produce battery ceramics and gas. Also, an estimated 40% of Ukraine's metallic mineral resources are inaccessible because of Russian occupation. What happens next? Negotiations over a deal. Trump administration officials have pressured Zelensky to accept a deal where Ukraine would divert $500 billion in profits from exploited minerals to Washington as compensation for its wartime support. But Zelensky rejected that offer, saying he would not sign off on an agreement that will be paid off by 10 generations of Ukrainians. So will there be a deal? It's unclear what kind of security guarantees companies would require to risk working in Ukraine. Because if you're going to have companies from outside come in and help get those minerals out of the ground, they would have to feel safe there. And no one knows for sure what kind of financing agreements would underpin contracts between Ukraine and U.S. companies. Anyways, so... But a lot of investment would be required to get those minerals out of the ground. And also a bunch of it is in the area that Russia has actually occupied. Let's see here. Heinz Stark, our viewer, says, Ukraine's selling their country now before it falls into Russian hands. OMG, what a mess. Mary Ann says, is Putin just going to hand over minerals to Trump? Well, there is this question of how about the minerals that are in the Russian-occupied areas? Again, Trump said today that in the next week or two, Zelensky could sign a deal. We'll have to see if that happens. And what are the specifics going to be? Chris N. says it's in the ground still. Billy Joe says, we promised Ukraine protection if they got rid of their nukes. U.S. losing standing, breaking all these deals. Jen Ector says, yup, minerals for tech. Evanescent thinks Zelensky will never sign. Something else to keep in mind about Zelensky. Whatever deal he signs needs to be okay with the Ukrainian people, right? It doesn't do Zelensky any good if he signs some deal and the Ukrainian people hate the deal. I don't think he'll be running the country very long if he does that. So he has to, whatever he signs has to be something he can sell to the American people, to the Ukrainian people, I'm sorry. All right. Was he talking about retiring soon? He said something like, I will step down if it means that like we can join NATO or something. So, I mean, it was very hypothetical. Yeah, look. Zelensky says he is willing to quit presidency if it means peace in Ukraine. President Zelensky said on Sunday he was willing to give up his position if it meant peace in Ukraine, adding that he could exchange his departure for his country's entry into NATO. Now, right now, Russia won't let that. It's not says they don't want that. I believe the U.S. doesn't want that. And many other NATO countries don't want them in NATO, at least not right away. So that's this hypothetical that's not really going to happen anytime soon. All right, I think we might be getting close to that time. We might be getting close to that time. All right, so if there's like big developments on like a Ukraine deal or like a deal over the rare earth minerals or some kind of peace deal, we'll certainly come back on the air and cover that, right? Something to keep in mind. We will certainly come back on the air and cover that. By the way, our viewer JRW fan said Clinton signed an executive order just after taking office ordering departments and agencies to cut at least 4% of employees within 3 years. Again, I want to go back to that, but the Clinton plan was done in conjunction with Congress, and also was done when the downsizing under Clinton. There was a committee that met for months to talk about what to do. We talked about that a little earlier. So I don't want to get into the details of that now, so we're wrapping up. I do appreciate your support, JRW fan. And for example, there's a Snopes article about this that talks about how Clinton reduced the government's workforce by almost 400,000 employees. 2 months into his presidency, he announced the creation of a national performance review led by Vice President Gore. That review lasted 6 months and made hundreds of recommendations. And then in 1994, the next year, Clinton signed a bill that was passed by Congress that offered federal workers buyouts in an effort to reduce the workforce by 272,000 employees. So maybe on a future broadcast we can get into all of the specifics about the Clinton downsizing. It's an interesting topic. But I just want to clarify there are differences between the way that was done and the way it's being done right now. But I'm not an expert on that. I'm going to have to read up on it. So I appreciate JRW fan bringing it up. Hey, all right, so I'll try to do some more reading on that. Maybe we'll talk about it. I'm sure we'll be talking about the whole U.S. current downsizing move, the current downsizing effort in future broadcasts. I'll try to read up some more on the Clinton background. Hey, I really appreciate, yes, and I will agree with Doesn't Count that says losing your job sucks. I agree. I certainly agree with you there. If there's big news later tonight, we'll come back on the air. And, oh, hold on a second here. I just saw something. CNN's Hadass Gold just reported that OPM, the Office of Personnel Management, notified human resources chiefs at all agencies today that the "what you did last week" email is voluntary and failure to respond does not equal resignation. This is per an email that I obtained sent to Department of Justice Human Resources officials. Again, Hadass Gold with CNN reports, the United States Office of Personnel Management notified human resources chiefs at all agencies today that the "what did you do last week" email is voluntary and failure to respond does not equal resignation. Now, that would go against what Elon Musk said. And also, President Trump today said, if you don't respond, he said something like you will be fired or semi-fired. It was kind of not exactly clear. But that is now being reported by CNN's Hadass Gold. That was just a few minutes ago. So we'll see if there's more news that comes out about that. But I mean, if that's true that the Office of Personnel Management told all human resources chiefs at all agencies that, that's interesting. Oh, also NBC News reports Doge will use AI to assess email responses of federal workers told to justify their jobs. I mean, I'm not surprised if they get millions of responses. NBC News reports that the information will go to an advanced AI system. The AI system will determine whether someone's work is mission critical or not. That's according to NBC News. NBC News says responses to the Elon Musk directed email to government employees about what work they'd accomplished over the past week are expected to be fed into an artificial intelligence system to determine whether those jobs are necessary or not. That's what NBC News is reporting. I'm just, that's, you know, so that's all I can tell you is that they're claiming that, NBC News. But again, I'm not surprised. Some of our viewers have mentioned this. If they get millions of responses back, I mean, there's over 2 million federal workers. So if they get, you know, over 1 million responses back, who's going to read all that stuff? So I don't see how they can. I mean, if you just look at the numbers of how many people are working at Doge, I've heard, what, dozens? If you just do the math, they wouldn't have time to read it all. Anyways, just saw that too. I just saw that right now. By the way, our viewer Darko Veris wrote in and thought that Trump and Macron would not share the details. Maybe they discussed more details about the Ukraine situation and negotiations and didn't share them in the press conference. I think that's an interesting point from Darko. Maybe there's a lot more they discussed they didn't talk about today. Okay. AP is reporting the same thing as CNN. AP reports, Chris Majarian from AP, Elon Musk's demand that federal employees list what they accomplished is actually voluntary. The Office of Personnel Management informed agency leaders today. So both AP and CNN are now reporting that the U.S. Office of Personnel Management told leaders of U.S. government, federal government agencies, told U.S. federal government agencies that that email that was sent out to all federal workers is actually voluntary. Interesting. Interesting. That's just being reported right now. Roger Shoemaker means it means it will not affect your job. I mean, we'll have to see. I have no idea. CNN actually has a headline now. Office of Personnel Management tells agencies what you did last week. Email responses are voluntary. But will I mean, a bunch of people have sent those responses already, right? A bunch of people had said the responses. So could the government look at the responses and fire people because of their responses? I don't know what's going to happen. ZZGYY says non-response puts a red flag over your head. Yeah, if somebody might worry if I don't respond, will they secretly mark me down and find some other reason to let me go or something? I don't know. Princess Kidda says OPM about to be downsized. Yeah, I mean, there's this, if they say it's voluntary, they might say, well, technically you can't get fired for not responding, but somebody might worry that it'll, like our viewer just said, that it'll make them find some other reason. OPR says, hypothetically, it could take somebody 2 minutes to read an email, 30 emails per hour, 240 emails per 8-hour workday. Well, That's if you literally don't take any breaks and you read and understand every email in 2 minutes. That would be at your rate would be 240 emails for a work day for one person to read. Remember, they might get, over 1 million emails back. By the way, our viewer, The Prepared Ranch, thinks that the Russian invasion of Ukraine was driven by greed because Ukraine has lots of rare earth minerals. The Prepared Ranch sent me a post that he had made before the war talking about this. That's what he thinks he said before the war, he said Russia and China want those minerals. If I'm paraphrasing him or her correctly. That's from our viewer, The Prepared Ranch. Thank you for writing in. All right. Well, we were going to get off the air, and then that new news happened. About reportedly the OPM saying that the email is voluntary. Oh! And then Sam Stein posted a copy of the email that the Housing and Urban Development Department sent out to its employees saying, the email you received is legitimate. However, according to the Office of Personnel Management, it is voluntary for employees to provide this information. But a lot of people already replied. Jackie Heinrich from Fox is reporting the same thing. Jackie Heinrich from Fox News says that the Office of Personnel Management has told human resources leaders from federal agencies that they are not mandating employees be fired if they don't reply to the message by the midnight deadline. Elon Musk had tweeted that a failure to reply would be taken as a resignation, and President Trump said in the Oval Office today, if you don't answer, you're semi-fired or fired. Again, that's from Jackie Heinrich of Fox News. But again, a lot of people have already sent emails back. Kevin Fordson thinks Elon is attempting to find out how many people, what did Kevin say, are collecting checks from beyond the grave? We'll have to keep an eye on this. We'll have to keep an eye on this situation. Kevin, I hope I adequately paraphrased your comment. It kind of flew by. I think that's what it said. All right. So I'll keep an eye on things. If there's big news on this, we'll do a different stream on it. But again, that's the latest. So I really appreciate you guys joining me for our live coverage of the press conference and our press conference post show. We'll have more coverage as big developments happen. So subscribe and follow the channel Agenda Free TV. We cover all kinds of live breaking news here without an agenda. Agenda Free TV. And I will post updates on my X account. And I'll keep an eye on the news too. I will post updates on my X account at Lookner. You can follow me there at Lookner on X. I post updates day and night, breaking news. And I really appreciate people letting me read your comments on the air, writing in with your comments, sharing your thoughts on stuff. Sorry if I didn't read your comment on the air, but tried to get to a bunch of them. But thank you for writing in and for watching the stream, watching the press conference here. If you missed the press conference, you can go back and rewind it. We also showed Trump and Macron answering questions in the Oval Office, so you can rewind that too. Also, huge thanks to our moderators. Really big thanks to our moderators. They are awesome. We couldn't have chat rooms without our moderators. So I know when we were during the press conference, somebody posted like, finally a stream without people spamming emojis. So we have, and something else. So the moderators are the ones who make sure it's civil and respectful and without people spamming emojis. Nightbot helps out with that too. But our moderators are awesome. They are really the ones who make the chat what it is. So thank you so much. Over there on YouTube, for example, Sarah55, Ruth Krafasi, all of our other moderators who've been there on YouTube, Beth Mythical, thank you. Linda Belk, Larry, Misha on X, thank you so much. Over on Twitch, thanks to our moderators there, people like LB Prairie Dawn, I Got That Fire, Matthew Kohai 3. Also, thanks on Twitch to Fizzy Mint for resubscribing. And also, Hell of a Hog Nut. Yes, that is the name of our viewer on Twitch. Thanks for your support. And thanks to our Facebook moderators like Kay Larry Body and Margaret Riley and Paul Anderson, all of our moderators. Big thanks to you. And thank you also to, thanks to our Discord moderators. And we have a chat, where you can chat with other viewers when we're not on the air. A lot of our viewers like doing it. Our Discord chat, it's free. Check it out. It's the same link as the notifications link. Did I even mention the notifications? I think I forgot. I don't know when big news is going to happen. So turn on our free notifications so you get sent a notification whenever we go live so you don't miss a stream. We set it up through Discord. It's one link and we have a free notification system and a free chat. You can check them out, both of them. Sign up for the notifications and check out the chat. Same link. The mods will post the link. It's a Discord link, but it's free and you can check it out. But those are the best notifications for the channels are the Discord notifications. So our mods will post the link. You can also find the link to those on in the description of this video on YouTube and Facebook. Also, thanks to everybody who donated. That is so nice of you guys. Van Dan and Connor Garrity and everybody else. I think I thanked everybody during Chris Quebec, New York, Chris Canada, Quebec City. I owe a thank you. And Seeking Confirmation. Yeah, a couple of viewers asked me about covering the Pope's health. If there's if I did a stream right now, there wouldn't really be that much more to say. A little bit of information comes out once in a while, but if there's big developments in it, then I'm open to doing a stream on it. It's just, it just depends on what happens. So I'm keeping an eye on it. I've been sprinkling in some updates on other streams, but it's not like there's a lot of new information that I've heard coming out. So, but the latest today is Pope Francis shows some slight improvement and resumes some work while still critical, Vatican says. So keeping an eye on it. He has not had any more respiratory crises since Saturday. The supplemental oxygen he is using continued, but with a slightly reduced oxygen flow and concentrations. The slight kidney insufficiency detected on Sunday was not causing alarm at the moment. His prognosis remains guarded. So I wish him the best. Thomas Darwin says maybe he'll get better. His doctors have said his condition is touch and go given his age, fragility, and pre-existing lung disease. He resumed working this afternoon. Anyways, I'll keep an eye on that. And if there's big developments, we might do a stream on it. Thank you, Seeking Confirmation, for asking for your support. Thanks, Chris Canada, Quebec City, and everybody else who donated. That's so nice of you. Chris says, I cannot believe the greatest power in the world is being led into a total dangerous improvisation with emails and messages on X. Wow, that's what Chris said. And thanks to everybody who donated on Twitch as well. And if you ever want to donate, you go to agendafree.tv, agendafree.tv. But huge thanks for your support of the channel, which allows the channel to exist. Okay. Also, for another great way to find out when we're going live is follow us on X at agendafreetv. I post there whenever we're going live. I post updates about the channel there at Agenda Free TV on X. And a reminder for those who watch over there on YouTube, turn on the YouTube notifications. Make sure you have those on if you subscribe to us on YouTube, because those can be helpful in telling you when we're live. If you subscribe on YouTube, you want to make sure you have this notifications bell checked, activated, and you've chosen all notifications. Make sure you do that. Okay. Hey, big thanks to our subscribers. For example, our Facebook subscribers who support the channel, like Eve Richards and Robert Rial II, Margaret Riley, Kay Lowry Body, Diane Allworth, Lou Green. Thanks so much for subscribing and supporting the channel over on Facebook. And all of our other subscribers over there. And our Twitch subscribers, people like Shaggy and Wall Street and Fizzy Mint and who else over there? Thanks, Euchre King, for the bits. Matthew Kohai 3, Night Owl, Guy from the 207. Thanks for subscribing. Let's see. Bad Toastery. Thanks for subscribing over there. And all of our other subscribers, thank you. Jack's Animals, Kitty Tiger 09, Fizzy Mint, Tegrity Farmer Bob. Thank you, Twitch subscribers, and the rest of you. And also our YouTube members. Thank you so much, Connor Garrity, Naomi Nocturnal, Alicia Alexander, Anne-Marie, Roger Shoemaker. Thanks for being members. Jagged Glass, Truth WSYF, Miami Geek, Lucky Minute, Wickedest Witch, Stacy Bashford, Anne-Marie, Doug Cahill, Miss Kitty, Lisa Vanderstein, J.K. Sinar, Per Holstrand, Ken Lance, CAC 813, Chris N, Anne Marie, sorry if I'm repeating some of these, Macro Geek, OPR 357, Thomas Darwin, J.K. Sinar, Jen Xer. Thanks for being members, all of our members. Joe Hart, Lisa Vanderstein, Beam Me Up, thank you. D's Ends, and all of our other viewers. Thanks for watching today. All right. Guys, if there's big news tonight, we will cover it. Thanks, Simp Nasty, for watching. Appreciate all of our viewers out there. All right, we're wrapping it up. We're wrapping it up. Christy Claff, thanks for watching. Thanks to our other Facebook viewers as well. Jamie Rowland, Connie Ori. Thank you. All right, guys. I'll keep an eye on the news. If there's big news, we're coming on the air. Again, we'll come on the air again. And if you missed it, feel free to rewind and watch the press conference. All right, guys. That is it for now. Thank you so much for watching our live coverage of the Trump Macron press conference. And we will see you soon with more live breaking news coverage right here at Agenda Free TV.